Just outside the city of Watkins Glen, New York, we're overseeing the beautiful racetrack of Watkins Glen International. Welcome back to Season 4 of AMX Racing, where today we are back with the AMX 1 NASCAR races, where we'll be racing the next gen. I am Kevin Garcia. Joining me today, we are here with Amir as well. Amir, great to be back here with you.
Absolutely, Kevin. And after last week's races, really excited to see what we can do now. Plus, the fact that I'm back in the studio again, my office studio, so I can go much louder compared to last time. So yeah, looking forward to this one. NASCARs around Watkins Glen is always a special affair because it really brings out the best of the road course ringers.
Yes, and that too, again, for those just tuning in on the stream, make sure to follow us, get all the updates. All the socials are on the screen below. But back to today's race. It has been a points battle between Connor Healy and Facundo Rago all season long. And today, things will get shaken up just a little bit as we are on our first road course of the season for NASCAR. So, again, it's a little bit different. We have some people that are a little bit more used to the ovals. Some people in here joining us today that have been in a few other races on the road course. So what can we expect today?
Well, for some of the guys that are used to the road course element of NASCAR, we can see them up in front because they can turn more than just left. They turn right better as well. But if those guys who are good at ovals, they can also just try to adapt to it. Who knows? They might just be able to mix it in between. And seeing the likes of Rago, who's aiming for the championship, he may not want to actually push it too hard. We're going to see the championship day standings after this, but for him, he might just focus on trying to keep it just clean as a whistle throughout so he could just get the lead away the championship as we come to the closing stage of the season.
So again, like you said, we are already past our second half, more than halfway through the championship. We have a few weeks left. But today, as we go on to a little bit more information on how our race is going to go, as we see the beautiful overlook of Watkins Glen. So again, Season 4 of AMX Global. We started back in January 27th, going all the way through April 21st. We have a total season prize pool of $20,000 and next level racing gear. So the way that these races go, our race format, we have a 20-minute qualifying session, followed by a top 15 reverse grid, followed by your heat number 1 of 20 minutes into another top 15 reverse grid, and then that second final heat, again, 20 minutes. If you want to join on the race, and for all of our drivers out there, driver cams are required. You can get more info on our website or joining the AMX Discord. Payouts will be balances over $100 paid out every single month. So once you hit that $100 threshold, you will get paid out. And we race every single Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want to get signed up, feel free to go over to amxrace.com and all of the information is there. Get signed up, come in here, and show us what you got. Again, every single Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, AMX 1 races start at 5:50 p.m., followed by AMX 10 at 7:20 p.m. Again, everything in GMT time zone. So if you're joining us, feel free to look up what time zone you're in, convert it over, and we will see you at that time. Also, all of these as well, we have streaming on Twitch and YouTube. So our current prize pool, qualifying, first place gets $7, followed by second place of $5, and third, $4, all the way until 15th. Then once we get into that heat number 1, the same amounts, $7 for first, $5 for second, fourth for third place, all the way down to 15th. And for heat number 1 and heat number 2, you get an extra $1 to that person who sets the fastest time, totaling to a whole prize pool of $100 per race. So here we go, checking on your leaderboard, your AMX 1 top 12 as it sits. In first place, we have Mauricio Lozano with 139 points, moving up 1 spot. And as well, second place, Diego Villarreal de Leon. Third place, Loy Renier, who has been killing it in the Assetto Corsa Competizione. Followed by fourth place, Facundo Rago in fourth, who we should see out here today. Fifth place, Gerardo Babio Ramos. Sixth, Connor Healy. 7th, Lucas Werle. 8th, Lautaro Gayoso. 9th place, Simone Seminara. 10th, Mateus Machado. 11th place, Fabien Nougier. And rounding it out in 12th, we have Leo Mora. So again, that was a look of your overall top 12 of AMX1. But now we're going to get into a little bit more with your AMX1 NASCAR specifically. So like I said earlier, Facundo Rago and Connor Healy have been battling it all out. But here's your current top 10, starting in 10th place with Han An. In 9th place, Leo Mura. Coming in 8th, Gerardo Ramos, followed by 7th place, Mateus Machado. 6th place, Kevin Garcia. 5th, Fabrizio Balziti. 4th place, Diego Villarreal de Leon. 3rd place, Lautaro Gayoso. And 2nd place, dropping down a spot, Connor Healy, which means our current points leader in 1st place for AMX1 NASCAR, Facundo Rago, sitting up there with 110.3 points. So he has a slight lead over Connor Healy. Will Connor be able to come back as we battle it out? We have 3 weeks left in the season to see how these final standings will change. But right now, I'm going to hit it back over to Amir to get a little bit more information on our track today.
Thanks, Kevin. As you can see in the background there, after a very good lengthy intro, now we get to the nitty-gritty here for the action. Watkins Glen International, just up the road from upstate New York, located, of course, in the great US of A. Opened first in 1956, but it was as a road course that stretched out all the way into upstate New York before they decided to close off the road course after a series of tragic accidents, meant that it became a closed permanent circuit, and also hosted Formula One from 1961 to 1980, before moving on to a collective mix of circuits, ultimately settling on 3 locations now, but is outside of that. 5.5 kilometers long, or in miles, I think about 3.4 miles, if I'm not mistaken, if my conversion rates are correct. But a great track nonetheless, and can't wait to see how these cars that we're going to see now, the next NASCAR Next Generation Cup cars, or the Gen 6 cars, to put it its proper name. Gen 7 cars, consisting of Ford, Chevy, and Toyota, with 670 horsepower, lesser than what they are normally used to, where some people want to make it go above 800 brake horsepower. Rear-wheel drive, of course, no front-wheel drives here because it will be shredded to pieces if it were on an oval. Just over 1.5 tons, close to 2 tons if anything. And new for this current era of NASCAR's, sequential gearboxes. So none of the H patterns that they're used to where it's 4 gears, now it's a 5-gear sequential. And that has changed up the racing a bit because guys from across the pond, i.e. in Australia, have made the conversion to NASCAR and have gotten used to it. So let's see if the guys in South America and North America in this instance, like Leo Moro, can actually handle these powerful stock cars on track, Kevin.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, we have plenty of horsepower going out here today. A lot of people always want to see more. But we will see as we get into the qualifying rounds here who our current leaders are. So we have a few drivers today, looking like we will have an Argentinian majority. So we got pretty much almost everyone coming in from South America today as we are riding along board and getting a little bit of practice in on these tracks. I can tell you, I ran it in iRacing just to get a feel of what our drivers are going to be doing today. And let me tell you, 670 horsepower is plenty in these vehicles. Not having too much downforce is sure to make an interesting race. As you can see right now on board, one of our drivers, as today, as you noticed right here, going into the boot. So this is one thing that you don't see all the time. So there are 2 configurations here at this track. One of them is the Cup configuration, but also the Grand Prix, which today we are running the longer configuration, which goes through the boot.
Yeah, that is quite a change up, isn't it? Because normally they'll bypass the boot section, but I don't think NASCAR has ever run that particular part of the course, only because of the fact that NASCARs can be a bit cumbersome to handle when there's too many corners coming in one go. But I think if they were to run it in real life, the cars can actually go through it because they have much better air underneath, as you can see splitters in the back, plus a sequential gearbox that you can easily stop the cars better, and they could probably race side by side. But again, they'd like to stick something that works, and just going through the minus the boot section circuit here is just the way to go. And I don't think there'll be too many complaints about that because at least we get to see a much faster race. But here it is now. We're looking at Villarreal coming through the final sector. This will be the one where he winds it up. It looks a bit cumbersome, isn't it, Kevin? Normally, you might see just GT cars fly through here, but the NASCARs are a little bit slower coming through.
Yeah, some of these cars, like I said, especially these ones, mentioned that there is no ABS, no traction control in these cars. So it just, all of that power straight to the rear wheels. It makes it very easy if you get on power too early or you brake a little bit too hard to just lock up those wheels, spin those wheels. So like I said, these next gen vehicles, they do have a little bit more aerodynamics from NASCAR standards, but still, you have to slow down a little bit earlier, take it a little bit easy. So you can see now, as we're a little bit more than halfway through our qualifying, some of our drivers have already settled in. Facundo Rago so far is sitting in that top spot, 150.86. So we should see there's a little bit more of a split. Like we said, a lot of these guys have been racing just the ovals all season. So now this is going to definitely show who's been putting in the practice on the road courses or who is just maybe racing these in other races, already used to some of these NASCAR vehicles in the road courses. But right now, as we are back on board with Facundo Rago, we're going to take a lap as we're coming through the S's. You see right here, again, Facundo Rago, your current points leader, and he has also joined us in some of the other AMX 10 races, so he is no stranger to the road courses.
And you can see how he is no stranger to it. He has a big round wheel, so he's definitely in the NASCAR spirit. Plus, he's using a sequential shifter right onto our left-hand side of the screen, his right side. So he's definitely getting to it, and he gives a thumbs up as well, just to acknowledge the fact that he heard that. And nice to see some authenticity involved in how he's driving here today. So no doubt, he is definitely one to watch out for. And the times are showing 50.8, faster so far by about 0.6 of a second here, Kevin.
Yeah, and as you can see, especially now as he goes into the toe of the boot configuration, this back stretch right here is a little bit tricky to learn as you get really up to speed super quick on there. Some of these guys, I don't know if they'll hit all the way into that fifth gear on some of these straights. But right here, as you can see, having to brake super early, that way you're making sure not to go off into the gravel trap on the outside. So it may seem like on some of these sharper corners, they're going a little bit slow. But again, that's just kind of the pace you have to take it. But these, again, make up for it in the straights. A little bit lower downforce, so they get up to speed extremely quick.
Certainly, and again, there's a reason why these cars can do 200 miles per hour easily on an oval, because the amount of power in those push-rod V8s really propel them in the straights. But having said that, some of the NASCAR purists might argue that they want to have more power in these cars, because it will make the super speedway races much more entertaining compared to just slow three-file action, especially in circuits like Daytona and Talladega. But you can see it there, case in point, Curta really lighting up the rear wheels as he got onto the back straight into the toe of the boots. It's still quite a handful to drive, and the NASCAR guys who have been driving some of these spec cars for a long time will find it tricky. But the guys coming over the pond, as I said earlier, the supercars guys, they enjoy it. It's like driving V8 supercars again, minus all the nonsense.
Yes, and that too, for those of you that missed it last weekend, we were here at Watkins Glen for AMX 10 in the V8 supercars, and we had a few people saying, all right, well, are those V8 supercars quicker than the current next-gen NASCAR vehicles? Well, today will be your opportunity to finally see just how much quicker they may or may not be. Again, slightly different configuration. Last week, we were running the supercars in the traditional Cup configuration, whereas this week, we have the longer course. As now we're seeing, currently in 7th place, we're on board with Nico Godoy, who is fastest lap so far. He just set for himself a 153.13. So as we keep going on, about 5 minutes left in qualifying, you can absolutely see that these guys are picking up the pace. Again, getting more comfortable, tires a little bit warmer, but that is another thing to take into consideration, is here that once we get about halfway through, or a little bit more, we'll start seeing some of that tire degradation also play a little bit of a role. Of course, last week we seen the V8 supercars a little bit more used to this configuration, and unfortunately, those guys had to save some fuel. So, Amir, what do you think is going to happen today with the fuel issue?
Oof. You know what? I'll probably just put in comparison tracks like Road America, where it can be a fuel problem. We have seen that before, especially in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, or by that time it was called the Nationwide Series, where they ran on Road America. They ran out of fuel because the circuit was just that long. In Watkins Glen, I might think it's about the same because it is all full throttle. In fact, it's about 65% full throttle the whole way. So fuel may become an issue, but maybe not as dire as compared to the V8 supercars where we've seen pit stops, and it's not the ones because of damage, but proper pit stops because of fuel being an issue. So that's one thing. But I think because of the similar configurations, both are V8s, it might be touch and go, but maybe the NASCARs just might have enough to get to the line. I might be wrong, but I think the NASCARs may just make it.
So that too, we will just have to wait and see if fuel will come into strategy. Again, these vehicles, they do have a slightly bigger fuel tank just because they are used to running some of those configurations out there on the ovals. But once again, huge displacement V8s pushing a lot of power, sipping through a lot of fuel. As we can see now, as we're on board with Lautaro Gayoso, one of the Argentinians today, and it looks like so far during our qualifying, we have all of the Argentinians up front leading the way. So these guys, a lot of them have been doing NASCAR all season long with us. A couple of them have been joining the AMX 10 races as well. But we love to see all these guys, as Lautaro Gayoso is only about 0.4, so roughly half a second behind Facundo Rago. So as we see him come out of that turn 11 into the home straight, we'll see if he can get his lap time improved.
Yep, as we look at further behind there, this is Giro Encinas in the Jimmy Johnson tribute livery, incidentally. Not quite as accurate without the yellow fonts, but nonetheless, it is pretty close to his championship winning cars back in the day. As Rago comes across, Gayoso actually goes on to pole position in front of Rago by a 10th. As I was about to note that there's a bit of a nice touch with deliveries where the current NASCAR next gen cars have the numbers put up further in front so that they can put sponsors behind. So that really is a nice touch from iRacing to put that little detail.
And there, just as we've seen it right there, Facundo Rago and Lautaro Gayoso, both of them now only about a 10th of a second off of each other. And keep in mind, these two are teammates, so where we don't have as much drafting as you may see at some of the super speedways, we still do have that back straight where, like we seen last weekend with the V8 supercars, gives plenty of time to make a move going into the chicane. And we should see, again, right here, it should be interesting with the boot configuration right before they go into the heel. There's another little straightaway there. Not quite enough to have a bunch of draft from the next person, but definitely makes for a good place for a lot of battles going into that turn. As now we can see, again, Pascucci, who is sitting in third place, coming up on almost his final lap. He may not get one more invite here, so he will have to improve his time as we're in the final minute of qualifying.
Yeah, it comes through the final corner, turn 11 here at the Watkins Glen International Circuit. He had a good run in the first sector, but it looks as though he's fallen off the boil a bit, and it will be a slight improvement. Yep, it is. A 50.9 puts him still third, a 10th behind Rago, and 2/10ths behind Gayoso. But no cigar this time. He'll have to settle for P3, but he'll start further in front of both of them come race time because we will flip the script on that. As behind, that's Villarreal going offline, stuck behind Encinas. So Encinas, despite being in front of him, is actually a cork in the border right now. That will really hurt Villarreal, and it has, because it come across the line. Looks as though there'll be no improvement, Kevin, as we end qualifying here right now.
And as we can see, there some great qualifying from the Argentinian drivers. But like with all of our races this season, we are going into a reverse grid, so they will be at the back of the pack. But right now, your BenQ session winner is Lautaro Gayoso, sitting in that top spot with a 150.776, followed in second place by his teammate Facundo Rago, only 0.091 seconds behind. Third place, we have Roman Pascucci. Fourth place, we have Hero Encinas, followed by fifth place, Diego Villarreal. Coming in sixth, Nico Godoy. Seventh place, Leo Mora. And rounding it out in eighth place, Rafael Casacurta. So only about a little more than a 1 second gap between your top 5 drivers. But again, we have the reverse grid, so being a road course, they're going to have to be very opportunistic to make their way from the back of the pack all the way back into the lead.
Certainly, and that first turn you can have opportunities to fan out. As we can see that the safety car is on the line here, so it is a full formation lap might we add right now. So they have plenty of time to heat up the brakes and tires so that it is warmed up enough so that they will not go off coming to turn 1, Kevin, as we look at the starting grid here.
So that too, right here in your starting grid, reverse grid, Rafael Casacurta will be in that pole position, followed by Leo Moro right behind him, Nico Godoy, Diego Villarreal, Pedro Encinas, Roman Pascucci, Facundo Rago, and Lautaro Gayoso. So as we are moments away from getting rolling here at Watkins Glen, that is your running order. I love some of these guys' liveries. So it seems like almost every single week, since we're in different vehicles with the NASCAR racing, some of the guys, you know, with their sponsors, they have the same liveries, but a few of these guys we have in the different one. Like we can see right there, the last person to hop on the grid finally in the Lowe's livery. But we do have the pace car out, so we will have a lap out here, get the tires warmed up a bit, get a little bit of the nerves out as the pace car takes off.
Yep, and it will just add to the butterflies, isn't it? Because especially it's going to be a long run up to turn 1. Green flag will fly as normal, but really, you're already up to speed. It's just it's a matter of not bogging the start when the flag goes out to signify the start of the race. And after that, it's just a matter of whether or not you're going to get your braking point right coming to turn 1 and hope to high heaven that the guys behind don't end up going off as well. So a lot of factors coming into here, especially on a rolling start in these mightily powerful cars, Kevin.
Yeah, it's always a great thing with the reverse grid. Like we said, some of those guys have that opportunity to lead the pack and hopefully hold on to that lead. But in the back of your mind, you're thinking, all right, I know I have a few guys behind me that did a little bit better in qualifying, just a little bit faster. So it really kind of has you looking in your rearview mirror at times, especially going into some of those corners right after the long straights of, all right, where's this guy braking? Am I going to have to defend inside? Am I going to make sure to go? Am I not lock brake? So many things going through these drivers' head. As right now, we're about halfway through the back section of the track, going through the chicanes there, the bus stop. But yeah, it should be really interesting. Cold tires. Also, like we said, they're warming up a little bit here on this at lap, but they're still not all the way up to temp by the time they get around. So, turn 1, always very, very interesting.
Certainly. It will be a case of playing a game of chicken there for those coming out to turn 1, as we have a few people in the comment sections coming in right now for the likes of listening in from Portugal. See what I did there? Just keep as usual. The Virtual Racing League, in fact, as one of the leagues coming here to join, and Exhaust Sniff, our usual contributors here. But yeah, the next gen cars, someone's asking the question, what's the best? It looks as though that in terms of parity, it's not like the V8 supercars where there's been some complaints about the Chevrolet compared to the Ford and so on and so forth, where it has been a point of contention. But in NASCAR, at least the last couple of years that we've run the next gen cars, it's been pretty well. So not one manufacturer has dominated here right now, and it shows in the spread of the manufacturers today. Every single manufacturer is represented, Kevin.
Yeah, like we said, a lot of them, as we can see on the ovals, a little bit of diversity going on all season long. You know what? One race I would love to see here just to shake things up. I know if you guys were wondering, hey, we had seen on the schedule earlier on about the trucks being ran here. So those were the 2008 trucks, which there was a few issues with the setup. Sometimes we see some of the guys going out. Like we said, now they have since retired those old trucks and have moved on to the newer Craftsman truck series, which iRacing does run this track regularly. So, but we are glad to see the next gen here, as these cars are the absolute pinnacle currently of NASCAR vehicles. I know a lot of people say that's the older one, but pace car is off, and we are about to go green. Here we go, boogity, 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 let's go racing, boys, as we get a great start by your leaders there from Cascurta, but Viomora looking to close in on that very soon. Going into turn 1, we're going too wide up into the S's.
Yep, as I'd expected, some of the cars went out wide because they haven't warmed up their brakes enough. But that's quite common in Watkins Glen, because coming through turn 1, you really do use the outer extremities of the circuit, because NASCAR doesn't release it there, unlike something in an F1 where you can't just abuse the heck out of the track limits in NASCAR. F1, you just have to be controlled by it. But it looks as though everyone's gotten through safely as we come up now to the inner loop chicane. Everyone taking it quite gingerly. They know this first lap, they gotta keep it together because the cars are now up to temperature. Case in point there, Mora goes off and into the path of the other drivers. Luckily, Casa Corta was nearby, otherwise we would have had a bit of a pile up there.
Yeah, that's one thing you always worry about as a driver is seeing someone go off track and cut in the corner. You just worry, oh no, is this person going to come back in and take someone out? But luckily, Leo Mora able to keep the car under control as he gets back onto the circuit. But right now, looks like we have a little bit of a battle going on in the middle of the pack. About a couple second gap between first, second, and third. But as we see, Facundo Rago, who did very bad. And we have a spin in the back. Oh no, looks like Villarreal had a little bit of a spin. Getting back onto the track now. We may have to see what happened there later on. Well, unfortunately for Villarreal, slides back. He is now 4 places down to 8th place. But Pascucci up in the lead, gained 5 places to now be in first as we are almost through the first lap here going on. Oh no, a crash!
Yeah, Casa Corta I think got tagged a bit, or he might have firewalled the throttle and just spun out himself into the path of one of the voracious cars. That's Gayoso. So Gayoso had nowhere to go. He had to come to a complete stop. Luckily, he didn't actually take out Nico Godoy in the process, who's running the Flintstones livery by the looks of it, because there's Dino at the back. But other than that, apart from a couple of skirmishes, everyone's gotten through safely without any major damage, Kevin.
Yeah, that's another thing to keep in mind is that these NASCAR vehicles, since they don't have huge wings or huge canards, anything being able to keep that downforce crazy, you really have to make sure that if you do happen to slide, bang into a wall a little bit, they are quite durable, but just depending if it's on the front of that vehicle somewhere, getting into a wall, getting into someone else, that arrow can absolutely hurt you on some of these longer straightaways. As we can see right now, a little bit of a gap between Gayosu sitting in 5th and Leo Mora sitting in 4th place. So right now, after those few incidents we had, things are starting to get settled and these drivers are finding a little bit of a rhythm. So right now, your running order in lap 2 as we go into the boot. We have Pascucci in 1st, Encinas in 2nd, and Rago in 3rd place. But again, we are only 2 laps into this 10-lap race, so it can still be anyone's game as we've seen these tires wear out, possibly fuel if these guys are going into the throttle too much. So anything can happen here at AMX1.
Indeed, and we only just saw a couple of skirmishes here when the tires are still a bit cold. But once the action really heats up and the cars and the drivers are in the groove, we might just see some really close quarters combat. And case in point here, it looks as though maybe Godoy and Villarreal, 2 of the grizzled veterans here in AMX Global, are going to go hammer and tongs because there's another second between them. And let's not rule out Casa Corta as well. He's recovering from that slight spin just now. So it's going to be a battle between the 3 of them. But if they want to get up to the rest of that top 5, they cannot engage too hard, otherwise they lose plenty of time as Pascucci then makes do with his lead. 3 seconds to the good now up in front of Encinas.
And that just goes to show a lot of these guys, they were very fast during qualifying. But again, reverse grid, shaking things up a bit. And we do see Roman Pascucci, he has been in the AMX 10 races quite a bit this season so far. I know he was here last weekend as well. So having that extra experience with some of these other guys putting out a battle, it's really showing that it is paid off in today's race with these NASCAR Next Gen doing the road courses. As we go back again on board, you can see there in the Lowe's livery of Encinas as Facundo Rago is hunting down that 2nd place position. So we'll see if by the end of the lap he'll be able to reel it in. He has a little bit better on Sector 1 and Sector 2. You can see there as he goes to the inside trying to pass him. Will he get the pass? Looks like they're going side by side down into the boot. But Encinas is keeping that inside line. So Rago trying to go for the outside, keeping up a little bit more speed. Can't quite get it as they go into that back straight of the boot. So, like we see right here, I know right here's where they go into the heel. It's always an interesting thing, getting a little bit too much speed. So the pressure is on as Rago looking to make his move. Not quite, as we see a little bit of smoke there from Encinas. So that little bit of smoke gave Rago the opportunity to finally make that move and claim that 2nd place position.
Yeah, he locked up big time there. I think the pressure got at him from Rago from behind and didn't really look at where he was going to brake. So he just missed it by a couple of meters, enough to make him go wide, but luckily there's plenty of run up there at the boot to get back into play. But unfortunately for him, that's position lost, and he's a bit rattled right now. Look at that, going very wide coming through turn 11. Luckily for him, he's about 5 seconds ahead of the next guy behind him, which is Leo Mora, but no doubt that was one moment where he would have wished he was looking forward rather than backwards.
And that too, having a little bit of battle going on for second place. That just left a little bit more room for Roman Pascucci to start pulling away, as he has a little bit more than a 4.5 second lead. But like we seen earlier, Rago was above the leaderboards during that qualifying round. So we know he is absolutely quick around this track. So we have about 6 laps to see if Rago can reel in Pascucci, or if Pascucci may be walking away with the win here in heat number 1. Like we said, it's too soon to call. Anything can happen in here. Oh, as Pascucci a little bit into the grass there. Don't want to do that too much on the outside of those corners. And locking up, yep, he looks just a little bit rattled. Needs to get back in his groove. So, unfortunate for Pascucci there. Great for Rago, as that gap is slowly starting to come down. Rago just a little bit slower through sector 1s and 2s, as you can see from the timing on the screen. But like we said, closing in that gap very slowly.
Yeah, that was quite hairy for him. But incidentally, though, he didn't really lose too much time in that first couple of sectors. He was just under a 10th. But the third sector, Rago's coming to his own here. 4 tenths, close to 5 tenths that he's gaining. So it's slowly but surely that Pascucci has to start pushing a bit more. Otherwise, he'll have Rago all over his rear come the closing stages of this first heat as we come through sector 4 now. Oh, look at that. He's responded a bit, but again, still very close there. Oh, no, in fact, it's Rago that was losing a couple of seconds, a couple of tenths in the first couple of sectors. Then he gained it. Now lost it a bit. So Pascucci is really turning it up ever so slightly coming into the halfway point of this heat, Kevin.
As we see there, so far it does look like Roman Pascucci has the best lap. He has about a 150.772 that he's been running. So right there you can see Facundo Rago not too far behind him, just set a 150.79. So these drivers, again, they're very quick. They're absolutely catching up to each other. A little bit of a spread between everyone else, but now we are on board with Facundo Rago as he hits the back straight, looking to go into the bus stop. Again, it's very consistent gap between him and Pascucci right now. So I think this is going to come down to which one of these drivers can really focus in on the rest of the race and which one is going to make a mistake, if anyone makes any mistakes at all. Knock on wood. Hopefully these guys will be able to get back into a race and we have that battle for first place coming up. But again, the absolute concentration from Facundo Rago.
Yeah, you can see the steely look in his eyes. He knows what's at hand here. The mission is to catch up to the back of Pascucci with half the heat left to go. And really, he's proven to be a very fast guy in the NASCARs, as case in point why he was only about under a 10th to claim pole position in the qualifying session. But the race right now, he only has another driver in front as Pascucci, who qualified third, a couple of tenths further behind. They're actually quite matched here between the both of them. So Pascucci then 4.5 seconds ahead. It's his race to lose though. He just needs to keep it tidy for the next 5 laps to go here so that he could claim a very, very priceless win.
And that too is right now we're going back a little bit into third place. We're looking at Encinas right now, rocking the Lowe's livery as he's coming across into this next straightaway. So Encinas right now is one of the top 3 Argentinians in this heat number 1, sitting in third place. He was down a few spots, so during qualifying he was sitting right about in the middle of the pack, but now, like we said, he's made up those 2 positions into third place and has about a 3-second gap between him and Leo Mora behind him, but he still unfortunately has roughly 8 seconds if he wants to get into that second place position that Facundo Rago currently sits in. So Encinas sitting all alone right now in the track, and we'll have to see if Leo Mora is able to catch up to him.
Yeah, but again, 4 seconds in fact between Encinas and Mora. It's a tall order here, and the lap times between the both of them, it's about close between the best lap times, 52.1, 53.2. Last time though, Mora gained about a second. So in terms of pace, recently at least, he could get up to the back of him in a few laps, but he doesn't have that many laps to get up to the back. As we now look at Gayoso and Mora, that's a bit of a more of an immediate problem for him because he only has 3/10 on Gayoso, and it looks as though Gayoso is the faster of the two.
Yeah, like we've seen earlier, Lautaro Gayoso was your #1 qualifier for today's race as he's looking to make a move onto Leo Moro. So we know that Gayoso absolutely has the speed to get this pace right here as he's looking around the outside. Takes it a little bit wide. Great defending there from Leo Mora. So as we go right here into turn number 9, we have Leo Moro slightly leading Gayoso. Up a little bit of a slide there from Gayoso. So Gayoso absolutely pushing it very hard today. You can see there's a little bit of damage on his front bumper that might be slowing him down just a little bit going into some of these straights. So as we go into the final corner onto the home straight, Mura, Gayoso. Will Gayoso be able to make a move here? We will have to wait and see.
Yeah, he was hammering it away as we look at the rear camera. That's a really nice shot because it looks as though he's closer, but it's actually the camera zooming in, so that's why it creates that extra dramatic effect of Gayoso's Mustang coming in closer to Mora's Chevy as they come through the S's for the 7th time here. Looks as though through the entry and the exit that time around, Mora has the advantage, but on the straight, he's got the draft. He's coming even closer. Look at that. The gap in real time is coming almost to under a 10th of a second, just nearly, as they come to the braking zone. And Mora under severe pressure. Let's see how well he can hold on to this. Gayoso tries on the inside, coming through the outer loop. No way through. He's going to have to wait for the braking zones at the boot section.
So here right now, as we're going into the boot, one of the big things that you see as Gayoso looks like he's finally able to make his move going into the chute. All right, and so he pulls away slightly ahead of Leo Moro, finally gets that place. That puts Lautaro Gayoso up into 4th position, right ahead of Leo Moro. So battling it out for about a whole lap there, and Gayoso was able to come away in front. Some great driving from both of those drivers there. But like we said, Gayoso, fastest in qualifying, now looking to make up as much time as he can. Again, that just goes to show right there, when you are patient and you just wait for that perfect opportunity, that's really when you're able to make some of these great moves as he goes on, especially once you have a little bit of damage going on with these NASCAR vehicles. That can either make or break a race for some of these drivers.
Indeed, and case in point how, despite the scuffness at the front of Gayoso's car, still has a bit of life in his vehicle, but a couple of drivers seem to be better in terms of their car damage, but not really having the best handle of it. Case in point here, Mora is just losing time hand over fist to Gayoso, who's just streaking away. It's a second in it between the both of them. Villarreal now is actually fancying his chances. He's only just a second behind as we come up now to the closing stages of this first heat. There's the second times between all three of them, and how Villarreal is faster than both of the drivers in front of him, so he's fancying his chances to get up into the top 5.
As we can see, Villarreal's less than a second right now behind Mora. So looks like if Villarreal can keep his consistent lines that he has, he may be able to gain one more spot. Right now, we're about halfway through lap 8 during this heat number 1. So those of you just joining us, we can see, yes, we are in the NASCAR vehicles, the next-gen vehicles. Your eyes are not deceiving you. We are turning right as well as left here today. So I see you guys in chat there freaking out. This is the first road race of Season 4 for these vehicles. So we love to see it. We've been seeing some good battles so far. Again, your top 3 in lap 8 right now, Roman Pascucci, followed by Facundo Rago, and Encinas rounding it in 3rd place.
Oh!
As we see, oh no! Gayoso spinning out into the wall. So the time he gained earlier on, now unfortunately, one incident puts him back.
Yeah, he firewalled the throttle coming out of the toe of the boot and just lost it. So just as he went one step forward, he literally went 2 steps back. So unfortunate for him. Luckily though, the damage was not that consequential. So he manages to stay within touching distance of Villarreal and Mora to get back the positions. But he did not want that one bit. And now he has to do it all over again here.
It's like we're seeing, unfortunate for Villarreal, falling back another 2 positions. That's unfortunate as a driver. Just once you get through there, you know, going into lap 9, of course, he's going to do everything he can to get past that next position, which he is right behind Villarreal. So he's wanting to make that position back to Villarreal before the end of this race. Again, was fastest in qualifying, so we know he has the speed, but it's just those little tiny mistakes. So that goes to show in these NASCAR next gen vehicles, especially out here on these road courses, you have to be absolutely consistent. Just the littlest thing can set you off, as we see back there, Godoy coming around the corner. But these guys right now, we still have a three-way battle during the middle of the pack. So 4th Mura, 5th Villarreal, and 6th place Gayoso. Don't count any of these guys out. Like we just seen the previous lap, anything can happen. So it is still any of these guys' race.
Yeah, it's still anyone's here that can actually drive to go up to the top 5 or into the podium positions, but the latter of which is maybe a bridge too far. The likes of Mora, he's 8 seconds behind Encina, so the top 3 more or less settled, but the rest of that top 5, especially the final 2 positions, that's still all to play for. So Villarreal, Gayoso chasing after Mora, he's gonna have even more pressure compared to just having one guy to overtake him. He's got 2 now. Never mind. Speaking of that, just jinxed it. He goes off. And he just bang on cue. Thought he was going to keep it under control. Villarreal goes around the outside. Gayoso is planning to try and get the both of them after this. They go side by side, back onto the normal NASCAR track, into turn 10. Would this be a move for Villarreal? No, he couldn't make it because Mora had a better run coming out of there. But he tries his luck here, coming through turn 11. No way through either. And Gayoso might just try to get the both of them here in the final lap now. White flag flies.
So absolutely, things are getting heated as we are in the final lap, like you mentioned. A little bit of door banging going on there between. So this will make for an interesting battle for 4th position. As we can see, these drivers getting a little bit aggressive, doing everything they can to claw their way back to gain that 4th place position. But right now, currently has Leo Mora, but very, very close behind him, Villarreal and Gayoso. So we should see as we're coming into the back straight, is someone going to try and make a move, get a little bit of a draft now that we have 3 cars in a row? Well, looks like they're playing a little bit safe here. Still on the absolute edge. You can see the back end just slightly kicking out. They're right on the edge of grip in these vehicles. Of course, 10 laps, that tire wear is already starting to go down just a little bit. So we'll see if Leo Mora can continue to defend off these 2.
Yeah, but again, really tall order here, but he's doing a really good job at it. Has been holding on for the last couple of laps, but the final lap was where everyone gets desperate. As you can see there, Villarreal nearly going onto the inside there. He will probably have been given a wake-up call, knowing that the race is still far from over. As Gayoso fritzes in and out of reality, he might be having some slight connection issues, but he's still in the race with us as we come out to the boot section for the final time. There's Gayoso on the inside, makes it. He caught Villarreal napping, but Villarreal will try to cut back across here, coming back up to the main course. As across the line goes past Gucci, he takes the win out of our sights. Villarreal loses out big time here, goes even wider, and that is pretty much P6 for him.
Man, absolute great battles. But like we seen last week, and it isn't over until you get to cross that checkerboard, cross that finish line. So we'll see, is Gayoso going to make a move right here as we go into the final stretch? Looks like he's very close, but Mura able to defend him off as he's blinking in and out of existence still across the checkered flag. That'll be Leo Mora keeping his 4th place position. Gayoso putting in an absolute great run there, as well as Villarreal. As we look back now, Godoy coming across the finish line. And in 8th place, we have Cascorta. That was some great battle. Of course, we always love seeing those last lap battles. That's when everyone is getting as aggressive as they can, putting everything out on the line. But we have another heat coming up, everyone. So things may be getting a little bit more heated as we've seen some of those drivers getting a bit aggressive.
Yeah, the heat ran hot there towards the end, especially when a couple of fringe positions were out in full force. But it's Pascucci who really was untouched from the opening lap all the way to the end. He's your winner by 3.7 seconds. Our Banky's actually winner in front of Cunderago and Hero Encinas, which makes it an Argentine 1-2-3. So they'll be celebrating to the next Easter, as it's Easter tomorrow. So happy Easter to everybody. Mora in 4th, Gayoso 5th, another Argentine. So that's 4 Argentines in the top 5. Villarreal 6th for Uruguay, 7th Godoy after missing out in that final couple of corners. And Casacorta, who really, unfortunately, after that first lap spin, just couldn't get up to the back of the rest of them. He finishes almost a minute behind, but wow. That really was good racing there, Kevin. And the NASCAR Cup cars have actually delivered there, so can't wait to see what Heat 2 entails.
Like you mentioned, that was some absolute great racing in Heat 1. Roman Pascucci, as soon as he had a gap going on, he was able to just walk away easily. But again, he is going now to the back of the grid, so he will have to fight his way through traffic. We have a little bit of tension going on between some of these drivers. So, like we said, Heat 1, a couple incidents. Heat 2, I hate to say it, but with as much as these drivers are getting into, especially knowing that the season is coming to an end, so every position right now matters to try and get up on the leaderboards. But your running order for Heat number 2 will be Casacorta in first, Nico Godoy in second, Villarreal third, Gayoso fourth, Mura fifth, Encinas in sixth, Rago 7th, and your last Heat's winner, Pascucci, in 8th. So, as we are on our outlap with the pace car, heating those tires up, we will see if there's some bad blood from Heat 1 or if these drivers are able to reel it in, calm down just a little bit, and absolutely focus. So, 10 laps, Heat number 2.
Yep. And you're talking about some shtick between the drivers. I think there's a general huge amount of respect from everybody involved, which is nice to see, because regardless of some of the collisions that happen, people are still willing to let that slip by if it means that you can continue to race each other week in, week out that closely every single time. So quite nice to see that happens. And for the guys here, maybe 1 or 2 collisions, but you can quickly put that aside because there's always a second chance to do so in the next heat.
And that too, for some of those incidents with the drivers wrecking into each other, a little bit of door banging, the best revenge is always being able to finish ahead of them in the next heat. So, right now, again, we are in the boot configuration here at Watkins Glen, which is not normally run for the NASCAR vehicles. They usually run the shorter track configuration. So that also means just a little bit longer up an outlap here, as we can see down into the chute. Now, behind that great Porsche, of course, Watkins Glen, quite known for some of the NASCAR races, as NASCAR now owns the track and maintains it, but also known for the 6 hours at the Glen, which iRacing will be doing their own special event every single year here at the Glen. 6 hours of the Glen endurance racing. So, but we're not doing endurance racing today. Like I said, NASCAR sprint racing here. We have 10 laps in this heat number 2. Heat number 1, very spicy indeed. As we can see, the guys in the back having a little fun, getting their tires warm. Hopefully, I'm not going to say anything because we have seen people get too carried away sometimes with trying to heat their tires up on the outlap.
Yeah, knock on wood. We saw that also towards the end of the first lap, how the guy on screen right now, Casacorta, got it all crossed up in the final corner, just ruining a chance of him to get up to the top 5. So he'll be putting it at the back of his mind to not have that coming up to this second heat, as some drivers still having some internet connection issues as we come up now to the start here, Kevin. Again, I'm not gonna make any predictions either what's gonna happen. Let's hope everyone gets through turn 1 safely.
Like you mentioned, that looks like that was Gayoso blinking in and out just a little bit as the pace car is off and we're grading for the green flag. So here we go. Heat number 2, AMX 1 NASCAR, as we get another great start by Casacorta. Also, Villarreal looking to make the pass right away onto turn 1. So, these drivers, very great start. As we see, Leo Moro locking up a little bit, going onto the outside, has to take it extremely wide. So, he will have to fall back in line. But right now, Villarreal trying to block some of the other drivers, getting a great run as he's going through the S's. So far, excellent start to your heat number 2.
Yep, certainly, apart from Mora just getting his braking crossed up there, everybody's gone through safely, as Villarreal is almost a second to the good here as we come out to the inner loop for the first time. Again, that particular chicane becomes a little bit touch and go for these NASCAR Cup cars. They're not exactly the most... Oh, that's what he's got. I was about to say it. Not the most agile, but someone got it crossed up completely. It's Pascucci. Heat 1 winner Pascucci has gone off into the barriers. So he's got a lot of work to do here in heat number 2 as Casacorta holds off Gayoso. He's between a voracious sandwich here as Morai also goes off a second time. and this time, as a bit of a consequence, whacks the wall.
So right there we have our heat number 2, our first lap incidents going into this. So like we said, we knew going into heat number 2 that a lot of these drivers are going to be pushing it just a little more, but that too, when you go from heat 1, have those tires all warmed up back to those cold tires, that just leaves room for those small errors. As we can see right now, Villarreal and Rago are leading the race. Villarreal with a slight gap as Rago tries to defend off Encinas. So we can see right here, Rago again doing very well in qualifying, doing very well in the last heat, but he doesn't want to see the spin back out in Cascurta. Oh no! Right into the middle of the track as the other drivers luckily avoid him. He did not end up taking anyone else out, but that is unfortunate as he will now go back to the pack.
And for the second straight heat, it's the very same corner, and in the very same lap as the first heat that he actually can't out and spin. As we look at what happened to Pascucci, it looks as though, yep, a bit of air coming out of the chicane into the barriers. He goes, caught the rear end first, but the wall sends him flying into the blue steel barriers that are quite prominent here at Watkins Glen. That's the most distinctive feature at Watkins Glen, but that's not the sort of sight he wanted to see. But luckily for him, he's managed to gain 2 positions because Mora's into the pits, so that incident coming into the boot out of the chute is enough to actually send it to the pits. Casacorta still continues. Pascucci on a recovery drive here. He's within touching distance of the leaders by about, say, 7.5 seconds to get back into the lead. But we got a race now here, Kevin, because the fastest guys are chasing.
Yeah, and that too, we had seen the replay from Pascucci. It looked like he did go into that wall pretty hard, so I was a little bit surprised that he didn't go into the pits to get some repair. So that just goes to show he does not care if his car has some damage right now. He is hungry to get as many places back as he can. But we did see Leo Mora did go into the pit as well. Pascucci a little bit sideways on that, but he is still able to get past Godoy, who both of those drivers, man, we're only 2 laps into this heat number 2, and like we said, these guys trying to make up every little bit of ground. As we can see, the Leo Mora incident down there in the bottom right, looks like he just went a little too hot and locked up that wheel, which unfortunately sent him into that barrier on the outside. But now, back to your leaders, Villarreal in first and Facundo Rago only 0.3 seconds behind him. Will Facundo Rago be able to make that move? We seen last heat, Villarreal was doing a great job defending as these drivers are battling up very, very close, but Rago looks like he's being just a little bit more patient. He knows we're only 2 laps into this, all right? As we come across into lap number 3, he says, I got plenty of time. He looks calm, cool, and collected right there on screen. So is he gonna make the move right here going into turn 1? He does not, playing it a little bit safe. That is a smart move right there. We've seen too many people either going way too wide into that one, just having too much speed, or also a little bit of incidents going on earlier. But through the S's, Villarreal so far keeping that top spot.
Yeah, Rago thought better of it, as you said, to not dive one on the inside this early into the heat. But thing is, he has to do it pretty soon because he's got Encinas and Gayoso behind, so his teammate just a position behind the next guy behind him. So he wants to get it going very quickly. Otherwise, he might end up having to squabble for the lead against a teammate. So that's not what he wants. He wants to get over quickly. But Villarreal with good defense right now, going very narrow. That might be going very wide. Yes, he does. Leaves the door open. And there goes Rago onto the inside, taking the lead of the heat, Kevin.
Absolute great move. Like you said, Villarreal just going a little bit wide, leaving that door open for Rago to come on the inside. So right now, Rago being very happy about that. Again, he was second in qualifying. He has been fast all day long. So now it's time to lock in and see if he can pull a gap. But don't count out Villarreal or Encinas, as those guys are still fighting off very close behind him. So, wow, 3 laps in and already some great battles going on. We see a little bit of smoke there from Rago. Villarreal maybe looking to take advantage of that. But no, looks like we are going too wide there right now with Villarreal and Encinas. Oh, Villarreal, my bad.
Yeah, that was Villarreal actually locking up once again. So a couple of corners that really didn't favor him. And that was enough to actually send him from first to 4th place in a space of just a lap. So unfortunate for the Uruguayan, but he still has an opportunity to get onto the podium here because he can fancy his chances against Encinas afterwards if he still can maintain contact with him. Gayoso with the fastest lap, so you can see he's the fastest. And Pascucci recovering after that first lap accident. He's also setting the lap charts alight at 50.7, fastest lap of the race so far.
So that we've seen there too. Of course, Facundo Rago was up there near the top of the qualifying leaderboards. Last heat, it looks like Pescucci, again, these guys setting the 1 minute 50 laps. That is very fast, especially for these cars that don't have crazy amounts of downforce. They have just enough downforce to keep them on the track. And sometimes, like we said, pushing a little bit too hard. These guys are going a little too wide, taking advantage of that. As we see Gaioso now looking to make a move on Encinas. So he's looking for the hunt too right here. He's going to get the over-under as we go down to the chute. He does. Let's see if he will be able to hold on to this as he's slightly defending off Encinas, but it looks like he will as we go into the boot. Great move right there by Gaioso. So that is now your two Team Voracious drivers in first and second place.
Yeah, but how long? Because Encinas then looks as though he might actually have a run on the inside. There we go, on board with Encinas. A slight spin from Villarreal, put it behind. That will allow Pescucci to come by, but that comes to the battle for second. Gaioso and Encinas playing a game of chicken. No! There's a touch there! Enough to set it spinning. So Encinas was going very narrow, trying to go to the inside. Just missed his braking point and sends Gaioso spinning into the back here to P5. And for him all over again to get up to the podium here. That was not what he wanted. It was a voracious 1-2, but that's gone begging for now.
Yeah, and Gaioso may not be too happy about that going into the rest of this race. As we've seen, we may have to see a replay just to see what happened there again, but it did look like Encinas just taking it a little bit too hot on the inside and unfortunately clipping Gaioso. So right now, we are on board with Gaioso. Man, that is just unfortunate to be second back into fourth place. Luckily, that is all that it was. It wasn't a huge crash that put him, but we can see in the bottom right-hand corner right now, replay of that. Encinas going in and just tapping that rear quarter panel of Gaioso, sending him into a slight spin off of the track, and that let Encinas go through to keep on with that second place position.
Yep, but he will be there for now. But for how long? Because stewards are on hand here from the Korean Auto Racing Association. They might just look into that after this. If Gaioso were to put a stewarding protest up. But again, that will be for later. He has to focus on the job at hand here to recover whatever he could to get back onto the podium.
And as we can see right now, which looks like Villarreal and Gaioso are currently battling now for fourth place. But one thing that we did not mention is Pescucci was able to make his way all the way up into third place with some of those incidents happening. We had seen Pescucci early on having a little bit of incidents himself, but he is able to go up 5 places and now sits in a podium position. So Pescucci can keep driving like he did in heat number 1. He will definitely be in that podium place contention. As we see again, great battle going on between Villarreal and Gaioso, but will Villarreal be able to get that position back? We'll see. Like we said, Gaioso being absolutely just a monster through this track, a little bit faster than Villarreal, so he's going to try and pull ahead here. But right now we're a little bit more than halfway through our race here at Watkins Glen. It has been absolute crazy battles going on so far, a few incidents. So as we round out lap number 5 going into lap number 6, we have the Argentinians leading first, second, and third place again.
Yeah, if Godoy was to get up to the back of Villarreal and pass it, that would make it an Argentine 1-5, but he's about 5.5 seconds behind Villarreal here, who's actually not that far away. 5 seems, in fact, between himself and Gaioso. So Gaioso may have taken much more damage than we would have anticipated. It looks like a very light contact, but again, the tires itself can be a factor here because it heated up a lot. So it will take a couple of laps or so to get it back up to prime racing temperature. As we look at Pescucci, who's still on the recovery trail here, 5 positions he's gained, just under 2 seconds behind Encinas here. So Encinas now might just be looking over his shoulder again and see a really fast guy approaching. Let's see how his defense stacks up this time.
And that too, I just want to give kudos where they are given to Pescucci. Like we said, he was into the wall earlier, for those of you that didn't catch it or may just be joining. So to go from going into the wall to be able to recover from that, heading down to the back of the pack, and now sitting in third place, that just shows the absolute concentration that this man has and just the talent that Pescucci has to be able to make up all those places. Again, there were a couple incidents that he was able to take advantage of that led to this, but we will see as he comes for that second place position. We have about little more than 3 laps to try and get past Encinas. So I know Pascucci is going to do everything that he can. Looks like right now, Facundo Rago is sitting in first with about a 4.5 second lead, followed by second place Encinas and third Pascucci.
Yep, and a nip and tuck between all of them because a second gap is not going to be a lot here, as Encinas then losing time quite substantially, in fact, in all 5 sectors. So that's worth about more than a second between himself and Pascucci. So whatever happened that time around maybe is a legacy of that impact between himself and Gayoso coming to the fore here, as the gap continues to shrink with Pascucci, despite having a much bigger impact at the opening part of the race, still has the pace in it between him to just get up to the back of his fellow Argentine here, as second place seems to be the most contentious position on the track right now.
And like you mentioned, Encinas just slowing down just a little bit compared to Pascucci. We know Pascucci's an absolute just rocket through this track. So we have 3 laps to go. It is going to be a very good battle here. But like we said, we have behind Pascucci Gayoso, who's been doing great today, other than those unfortunate incidences that happened earlier. He was in second place, got dropped down a couple of places. So if this battle keeps going on between Encinas and Pascucci, that may give just enough time for Gayoso to also catch up, and we may have a 3-way battle. So like we said, it'll be up to Encinas to be able to have a clean drive here, be able to get through and defend off Pascucci without slowing down a little bit too much and having a 2-way battle turn into a 3-way battle.
Or 4-way as well, if you give Villarreal half a chance as well to get up to the back. But it looks as though the pace between the both of them is enough to just inch away from Gayoso, whose car may be a bit damaged one time too many. But again, Gayoso has to pray that both of them get involved in the battle, which actually is going to happen right now. Encinas with a poor exit coming out of turn 11, with Pascucci just under a 10th as they come across the line. It's close between the both of them, but time-wise, again, in hand, Pascucci has it. It's a second in it between them as the camera from the helicam comes closer here. You don't even need the numbers on the screen to tell you how close that is, because Pascucci physically can just touch the rear bumper of Encinas here as they come up through the S's onto the back straight. This might be a chance if he can get enough of a run.
So here we go into the back straight. We have Pascucci taking a little peek, just letting Encinas know, hey man, I'm right here. I'm coming for that second place position as we go into the chicanes. Absolutely been on his whole bumper so far this entire lap. So right here, he's looking to make a move as we go down to the outer loop into the chute. We've seen a few incidents happen here, but we've also seen a few great passes. So Pascucci just being ever so patient, waiting for Encinas to make a move, maybe go a little bit wide right here. But no, Encinas defending that inside line, doing a great job. Like we said, as we go into the toe of the boot, Encinas holding off that second place position, but Pascucci, less than half a second this entire lap, he is on him. He is letting him know, hey man, I'm just waiting for that perfect opportunity. No pressure, but I'm right in your rearview mirror.
Yep, he's just trying to really increase the wick ever so slightly, corner by corner, knowing the fact that his rear quarter panel might just see a blue and slightly cyan colored car right behind here as they come up now to turn number 10. It looks as though Pascucci is just toying with him a bit. He's just waiting for the right opportunity for Encinas to make a mistake and just come through. But Encinas, to his credit, has been able to keep it together, keep it clean. But can he get a good run out of the final corner to the next lap here, because it's the penultimate lap now with Rago well and truly ahead, 6.1 seconds coming up to turn 1. Looks as though it's too far for Pascucci to do anything here at this point, Kevin.
Like we see, and of course, Pascucci was putting down some faster laps, but now that just goes to show how great of a job Encinas is doing at defending. So these guys know they have a little bit less than 2 laps to make something happen here. So is Pascucci going to be patient, or is he going to take that very first opportunity? Is he going to try and force something to happen here? So we're on the back straight now. Again, right here, there's already 2 laps in a row that Pascucci's just been absolutely on the rear end of Encinas as we go down out of the chicanes into the outer loop. Again, right here, we've seen a few passes once we come out of the outer loop into the chute. So Encinas has to be feeling the pressure right now, as looks like Pascucci's going around the outside. Will he have enough grip to be able to hold it? We will have to wait and see. Is he going to go for the over-under? Looks like he's just trying to get a little bit more speed. Oh, a little bit touching the grass right there. That slowed him down just a little bit, but he's not down and out yet. He's still fighting for that second place position as Facundo Rago continues his lead with these guys battling it out for second position. So, again, the battle for second place ensues.
You can see the camera there, he's gritting his teeth a bit. He is getting a little bit antsy. He wants to get it up to P2 so that he could get a overall win here. He goes a bit wide. He tried to get up to the back of Encinas. Encinas doing a very good defensive job here, even if he bungled one of his overtaking maneuvers. But he will no doubt still be happy that he managed to just find it. Oh, there's an accident from the behind. That's Gayoso. Gayoso, we were just talking about that. The other guy involved in that incident with Encinas has lost his front bumper a bit as Villarreal body slams him out of the way. That's a proper NASCAR bump and run move and gets P4 out of that. So Gayoso, what on earth happened there? Maybe he firewalled the throttle a bit too hard on the exit. Just tried to catch the rear, but it was already stepping out and loses position to Villarreal. So that is the top 5 pretty much settled in 4th and 5th. But the other 2 positions, 2nd and 3rd, still on here, Kevin.
Yeah, an unfortunate incident there for Gayoso again, paddling off. But right here we see as Pescucci peeking on the outside, this guy, he is making every single time that he has an opportunity to let him know, hey man, I'm still here. I'm coming as we are on the final lap. It is now or never for Pescucci to be able to overtake Encinas as he goes right there. In a little bit more, a little bit of a bump right there. He lets him know, hey man, I'm here, I'm coming for it. I'm gonna bump you a little bit if I have to. I'm gonna do whatever I must. So, right here, proper NASCAR battling it out. A little bit of bump and run like you mentioned earlier. These guys right here, absolute focus. You see grins on these drivers' faces. As we see a little bit wide from Pescucci. Oh, but also Encinas into the grass. So a little bit of mistake for both of those people. Right here, P2. The battle is heating up as we are almost through this lap 10 of 10 here at Watkins Glen. Will Encinas be able to hold him off?
Yeah, he only got a couple of corners here left to go. This is the other prime overtaking spot, and that's it. That's pretty much done for now. Pescucci has to get very creative in the final 2 corners if he wants to get in front of Encinas. There we go, catching point. He goes around the outside here. He will try to actually do the switchback, but can he get a run on the outside? Yes, he does, because Encinas gives him a bit of a room coming through turn 10. If he gets around the outside and he comes on the inside through turn 11, that's him coming through. It's across the line. Comes Rago. There is Encinas holding on the inside. Pescucci on the outside. It's going to be a drag race to the line here, Kevin.
Yes, and we see right here, Kieran Harrison last week in the supercars, but oh no, Encinas giving a little shake, saying, "Nuh-uh, man, you're not getting this second place away from me." As your first place Rago, second place Encinas, able to hold off Pescucci, who finishes in 3rd. That was an absolute great battle here in heat number 2 from Encinas and Pescucci. There was plenty of opportunities, as we see celebratory donuts right there from Facundo Rago, and that's going to put him well ahead in the points lead for this championship for AMX1 NASCAR.
Oh, take a breath there. That was some amazing stuff. And a couple of commenters in the section here might just lost a bit of money because they were betting on some of the things. So it's legalized betting here, nothing too substantial as he goes backwards. Rago actually goes backwards. He's trying to do what Alan Kowicki used to do, which was the Polish victory lap, to go on the opposite direction of the track. No, he actually cuts it off halfway, but he is a very happy chappy there. Finally, after 2 consecutive second places, he gets a first.
An absolute banger of a heat number 2 going into there. We had some heat number 1 incidences going on, and we knew it was going to be turned up for heat number 2, and these drivers absolutely delivered. We had a few incidents there that, we'll have to see what the officials have to say about that. If there was some contact there, who was at fault, if there was just some incidents, some racing incidents. But wow, that was absolutely great from our NASCAR here at Watkins Glen. See, whenever you let these guys, give them the opportunity to put a few right-hand turns in there, not turning left all the time, they put on a show. As you can see there, our session winner, our BenQ session winner, Eero Encinas, followed by 2nd place of Roman Pescucci, 3rd, Lautaro Gayoso, 4th, Diego Villarreal, and we have a little bit of issues here with the Heat 2 results, as we had Facundo Rago actually coming in 1st place there, so a little bit of technical issues, but nevertheless, we have Facundo Rago leading the leaderboards now, winning that Heat 2, walked away with it. Great battles in 2nd place. And Amir, I hope that it stays like this for the rest of the season. I mean, these guys, now that they know just how much they can push these cars, it should be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully we get more road courses for the NASCARs because that really provided some good action. It's like V8 supercars, but just slightly heavier, more cumbersome, but it provides good racing. As we say often before in AMX, slower cars provide really good races. So, case in point again, despite being powerful, but slow through the corners, it just gives more ample opportunity for someone to make a difference through the corners there.
And that too also, like we said, compared to seeing some of the other cars that run this track, not quite as much downforce. We had a few incidences. These guys, missing their braking points a little bit hard, locking up, coming out, spinning, coming out, fighting, a little bit of door banging. But at the end of the day, it looks like we have your Argentinians being at the top of the leaderboards all the way from qualifying into Heat 1 and Heat 2. Absolute great racing there.
Indeed, and they'll be happy to know the fact that Argentines filling the podium 1, 2, 3 per race. They will be hoping to do that in AMX 10 as well, allied to AMX 1. But again, different cars, different tracks every single time. It's not a complete given, but because the Argentines were just so used to the NASCARs here, it became almost like a formality of who's going to be right in front afterwards.
And that too, of course, we've seen some of these guys that they have been running a couple of road races. So not just racing in NASCAR. So that really gave the advantage here at the end of the day. Like we said, Facundo Rago, Roman Pascucci, we've seen them here in some of our AMX 10 races. So that shook things up. They had a little bit of an advantage. I know hopping on iRacing, I see some of these drivers that they were practicing all week long, getting ready for this. So I'm great that they came out here, put on a battle, put on some great shows, great replays. But yeah, so coming up here pretty soon, we will be heading it back over to Europe, where we are going to be at the Circuit Zandvoort in our GT3 cars. So those of you watching at home, don't go anywhere, as we have some more great battles coming up with the AMX 10 races.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
just north of the city of Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Out at the dunes, we are at Circuit Zandvoort. Welcome back, everybody, to Season 4 of AMX Global Racing, where today we are here with our AMX 10 rear-wheel drive class at the Circuit Zandvoort. I am Kevin, and joining me here today is Amir. Amir, we had a great AMX 1 race earlier on, but now we are on to the AMX 10 races. Man, I'm still speechless from the last race, but enough about that. What can we expect here going into Zandvoort?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. But we really got giddy from that one because it had some really good action. But we're in a completely different kettle of fish this time, because from the white sweepers in Watkins Glen to the rather technical and slightly narrow Circuit Zandvoort, where there's not really that many prime overtaking spots, but no doubt the drivers will try to find ways of being creative around here, because not only that it's Zandvoort here is an F1 circuit, also GT cars race here, but it's actually the updated Zandvoort circuit with the recently reprofiled bankings there for good measure. So we might just see more than a couple of lines heading through some of these corners. So can't wait for that, Kevin.
So like you mentioned, of course, this track, one of the Grand Prix tracks that's currently being ran. For those of you just joining in, don't miss any of the action. Please follow all our socials that are on the screen right now. But wow, I know we had some great races earlier on. We had the TCR on Tuesday, which some of those drivers are joining us today, and as well as last weekend in some of the supercars and the GT classes. I expect today's race to be like any of our AMX 10 races, of course. Absolute door-to-door, wheel-to-wheel excitement all the way through. But before we get into the race, we have a little bit of housekeeping to take care of on what exactly is going on this season for AMX 10. So as you can see here, our AMX Global Season 4 overview started January 27th, and we will be here all the way through April 21st for Season 4 with a season prize pool of $20,000 and next level racing gear. So our races go as following. We have your 20-minute qualifying session, which will go into a top 15 reverse grid into heat number 1. Heat number 1 will be 20 minutes, followed by another top 15 reverse grid, and final, your heat number 2 is also another 20 minutes. So as we've seen time and time again, the top 15 reverse grids, always a great time and a fan favorite. So for our drivers, driver cams are required for the league. You can get more information via the AMX Discord or on our website. Payouts are paid out every $100 each month. So once your balance hits that $100 mark, you will be paid out. And we race every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Once again, for full information on that, please go to amxrace.com. You can sign up there for all the details. So, like I mentioned, Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, we are here every single week at 5:50 p.m. and 7:20 p.m., all in GMT time. So, first start, AMX 1, followed by AMX 10 shortly after. And of course, all of these you can catch on our live stream on Twitch and YouTube, as well as joining the race if you so feel like it. So far with our AMX 10, here's how the prize pool goes. For qualifying, first place will get $30, second place $20, third place $18, all the way down, 4th, 5th, 6th, down into 15th place. So prizes up for the top 15. Going into heat number 1, it will be the same 30, 20, 18 for your podium positions down to 15, with a $4 prize going to that person that sets the fastest lap. Also, after the next top 15 reverse grid, we have the heat number 2, which follows the same format. Again, to join for these races, you must have a minimum road iRating of 2,000, and the total prize pool for each race is $500. So feel free to hop over there if you feel like winning some cash, you want to battle it out. So far, here is our AMX 10 top 12. Sitting in number 1 position, we have Gael Valero, who's leading by quite a few points. 1,045, so that just goes to show being consistent and being great every single week in, week out. You can be top of the leaderboards with quite a bit. Second place, Kieran Harrison. Third, Dino Filippa. Fourth place, Aaron Vasquez. 5th, Gaston Kulabi. 6th place, Jackson SNJ. 7th, Fabio Zamperlini. 8th place, Pedro Dean. 9th place, Simone De Mori. 10th place, Juan Blainot. 11th, Corentin Guinez. And 12th place, we have Peter Zuba. So like we said, that was your top 12. We're going to kick it over back to Amir for your track info. Get a little bit more what we're doing today.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kevin. And now we're going to get ready to see what and where we're racing at. As you can see, the high banks of Zandvoort. So it's become quite a staple, isn't it, after the reprofile back in 2021. So this is Circuit Zandvoort, or the CM.com Circuit Zandvoort. Nice little camera action there at the background to make it feel like we're on the site. Opened in 1948, first started hosting Grand Prix right around the late 50s into the 60s, where it was a staple of the Dutch Grand Prix until 1985, where that was the last time that we saw it, before we came back to Zandvoort only at the start of this decade. 4.2 kilometers long. It's a really nice flowing track. It's a real driver circuit, but racing can be 50-50 sometimes, so let's hope that our drivers today in AMX 10 can provide some really good action. And the cars that we're racing here today, it is complementary to the circuit we have here, because the actual GT3 series that run both continentally and nationally also run at Zandvoort. The GT3 cars that come from the latest range of some of the best cars here, with the Ferrari 296, the BMW M4, Audi R8, Porsche 992, and the like, with varying degrees of horsepower, about 500 to 600 each. Sequential gearbox, so the driver doesn't have to take their hands off the wheel. It's up to 6 gears. There we go. 1,200 to 1,300 kilograms, depending on BOP, of course, because again, what makes GT3 such a popular class is the fact that balance of performance is handed out every single time that the cars go on track, so that it will at least try to get as much parity as possible between the different makes of cars. So as we're probably gonna see after this, plenty of makes being represented here today. So we're in for really a good race here, Kevin.
Absolutely. And now we're gonna take it back just a little bit. So like we said, we had our overall champs earlier, but now going back into our current class of the rear-wheel drive class, starting off in 10th place, we have Pedro Dean, followed by 9th place, Jackson SNJ, in 8th place, Fabio Zamperlini, 7th place, Simone De Mori, 6th place, Gaston Kulavi, 5th place, Kieran Harrison, in 4th place, we have Dino Filippa, and your top 3 starting in 3rd place, Juan Blainot with 314 points. In 2nd place, we have Gael Valero with 320 points, and your current rear-wheel drive leader, Aaron Vasquez with 396 points. So, not too much of a gap between Aaron Vasquez and your overall points leader of Gael Valero. So today's race should be interesting. Of course, like we said, we have a few weeks left in this season, so I'm sure those two are going to be battling it out. As I can see in chat already, a few people here. We have a few Aaron Vasquez fans out there. Hello to all of you. But now, time to get into the qualifying. As we can see on screen, the focus on the drivers already as we're get into our 20-minute qualifying session. So, that too, like we said, Aaron Vasquez been atop the leaderboards all season long, been qualifying absolutely great, has had plenty of great races, as well as all of our other Spanish drivers, our Argentinian drivers. We have a few Brazilians in there today. So, back into qualifying as we are on board one of the drivers in the Ferrari.
Yeah, this is Aaron Vasquez, incidentally, because we were hyping out just now in the comment section, and a few drivers, or a few of his fans as well, out in full force to give their support to their favorite drivers. Then that was a nice little shot, actually, of 6 drivers on screen, because that's the first time ever that we've had all the drivers on Zoom put together there. We saw a couple of instances of drivers in VR, for example, like Tim State. That's a nice touch, though. He's got the best vantage point. He can see almost 180 degrees around him. The likes of Jason Resende, who prefers a more traditional view, and the like, where screens are probably above what they would rather do rather than doing it in VR. But regardless of that, whatever you're driving, if you can drive it well, you can certainly go far, as we're on board Vasquez right now, starting yet another lap on pole position by about a 10th of a second from Resende. So Resende really has a handle on the cars here. We haven't seen the best of him just yet this season, but let's see if he could actually put it together this time around coming to Zandvoort, Kevin.
It's like you said, a close battle right now between Vasquez and SNJ, as Vasquez right there you can see running the Drago livery in the Ferrari. So again, we had a few of these guys not able to make it with us last weekend as they were doing an iRacing special event, but they are all back this weekend, as well as, like we said, we do have those Tuesday races, which even though a lot of them, when they're in those touring cars, some people say, oh, they're a little bit slow. I say absolutely not. We get amazing races. When you have slightly slower cars, a little bit less downforce, it's still the same close battles as we have here in the GT class. You see Aaron Vasquez looking to improve on his lap time. He is already in that #1 spot. But I know, if I know anything about this guy, it's that he is never satisfied with just doing okay. If he knows he has a few more tenths in him, a few more hundreds, he's absolutely going to lay everything out on the line every single week in, week out.
Certainly, and case in point why he is the man to beat in the rear-wheel drive category for AMX 10. He's out in front, but don't discount this guy. Valero out. He's only about 0.5 of a second behind after the first couple of laps, so he's ready to wind it up here as he is on his out lap. So getting ready to go for a second run here in the final half of qualifying. 8 minutes left to go. This is the final push. If he wants to get up to pole position and get that $30 now, he has to make it happen here in this final run.
So that dude, like we said, especially a lot of times, a little bit of a going inside, a little bit too hot right there, Valero. But again, he's still on his out lap, so that's fine. He doesn't, he's not too worried about this. Just trying to get a little bit of heat in the tires and get back to that #1 position. But hey, like we said, third place isn't bad, but when you're these drivers, third place is still not winning. So as we see Valero back onto the home straight as he starts his next hot lap. Will he be able to improve? We will have to wait and see, as there is still less than a second between pretty much all of your top 10 drivers, as Assetto actually just takes the top spot now. So Assetto able to overtake Aaron Vasquez by just a few hundredths of a second. So now, as Aaron Vasquez was also back on his out lap, that's going to put a little bit more pressure. But right now we are on board with Pedro Dean, who currently sits in 4th place.
Yeah, that was a stunning lap from Assetto. Unfortunately, we only caught the end of that, but regardless, the Brazilian 410's up, and I did say earlier just now, we have not seen the best of Assetto as opposed to the previous season where he was always constantly at the front of the field. Now he gets to do so again here. Well, although in qualifying, he will have the race a bit difficult to find there after this because of the track being a bit narrow, and in some places, not in turn 1 of course, but in some places where it's hard to overtake. We'll see how that goes after this, but glad to see he's on form. Vasquez second, Valero in third, but we haven't seen the best of Valero just yet because he's still on his lap here, so we didn't see whether or not Frenchman can put it together.
Absolutely, and that is just another reason that he is your overall points leader, is just the consistency, being super fast every single week, every single lap. But right now we are on board following your current 6th place of GVOC. So we have a couple of Polish drivers there right here in the Lamborghini. So speaking of Lamborghinis, it does look like we have quite a few of them today. So it looks like 5 to be exact with the Lamborghinis, about 3 Ferraris, a couple Porsches, and a couple of Audis. So great diversity out here, like we've seen. Not really anyone completely dominating, as we see Lamborghini, Ferrari in your top spot. So not any one car being super dominant out here, which just goes to show too of we try to make it as balanced as we can. A lot of these guys, we want to see the fixed setups. We leave it up to iRacing to work out the balance of power. They do a pretty good job for the most part. But yeah, the more balanced out the cars are, that just leaves the room for these drivers to show that, hey, it isn't just a car, it is me. I am the one that is able to set these fast lap times, be atop the leaderboards. But now we have a little bit less than 5 minutes left in your qualifying session, as Assetto just improved a little bit on his time, pulling away a little bit more of a gap between him and Aaron Vasquez.
Yeah, and going back to that point of the cars being quite spread out in terms of how well they're represented, it is quite nice, isn't it? 4 manufacturers here. Incidentally, all of them are mid-engine rear-wheel drive, so it seems as though a circuit like this favors cars that have more weight to the rear, so they have much more front-end grip to come around the corners. As here we go, then Vasquez up in pole position, 7 332.7, a 10th up. 600s in fact in front of Resende. So Resende on his final runs here is ready to try and answer to that particular lap time. With Valero, we have not seen the best of his lap times just yet, but make no mistake, when he will make it, he'll probably be doing it out of our sight, because he is that kind of driver where he can put a lap time together when you least expect it.
So that too, but right now we have the back and forth as we go back on board with Jackson SNJ, who just got knocked back down into that second place position. But he is on a hot lap right now as he comes into the home stretch. We will just have to wait and see here in a couple seconds. Will he be able to improve on his time and get that first place position back? It looks like a 132.84. So no, a little bit slower than his last lap. So right now, Aaron Vasquez sitting in your top qualifying position, followed by Jackson SNJ in second and Gael Valero in third.
Yep, it is quite nip and tuck here, and Resende is out for yet one more run, so he is banking on the last couple of minutes here to just make a lap time. So 3 minutes, he might just sneak it in though, so let's see if he can make his out lap count and just get the tires and car prepped enough to go through. As we can see on the bottom right of the screen what those little bars mean. That's purple for fastest in the session, green for personal best, that means you're actually bettering your lap time, and yellow is not improving, but you can still find time somewhere. And as for the gray bars, well, that means that the time's still in progress, so the car is out on track. Case in point, there's Kohavi across the line. There you go. He did not improve on his lap time that time around, but he will be going at it again, as he has about 2.5 minutes left to go in the session.
And as you can see right here, I'm looking on the timing. It looks like Jackson SNJ did hit the pits again, so that may be it for him, sitting in that second place, as Fabio Zamperlini jumping up into third place on the timing scores. And but right now, riding along again, we'll see a couple of these drivers if they can improve on their laps. We have 2 minutes left in our qualifying session. As we can see, Fabio Zamperlini down there in the bottom left hand, you know that he's happy to get a little bit more off of his previous time, now sitting in that third place position. But like we have with 2 minutes left, he technically does have enough time with these drivers running just over 1.5 minutes each lap on this circuit. He has time to improve and get either second or third, or he is in third. He has either time to improve to get second or first place over SNJ or Vasquez. So we will have to see as we follow along with him on this lap. Will he improve, or is he going to stay in that third place position?
I'll tell you what, it might just be quite close towards the end if his ability could actually improve. As Tim State, we're on board with him. He's actually had the best first sector personally for him, but second sector is not what he would be wanting. So if he can nail that, just find a couple corners, which unfortunately I don't think he does it, because he has actually backed it off a bit. So that's not the type of pace that you would see happening on your lap time. Maybe he's just getting accustomed before the start of the race, as the car looks visibly slow. As behind him, there's Zamperlini coming very hard. Luckily, State actually can see his review mirrors in VR, and he has to go off track. Also, Zamperlini comes across the line. No improvement. He stays P3. Not enough time to set another lap here, as drivers in front of him have come to the pit lane. Meanwhile, behind, Valero is on one last push.
So like you see right here, Gael Valero, one of our faster drivers this season. He has about 30 seconds left in this qualifying, so we will see if he makes it to the finish line in time and if he will be able to improve it. He was sitting a little bit higher, got knocked back down into fourth position, but now with a few seconds left into qualifying, Gael Valero, what is his qualifying time going to be? 133.6, so he also, unfortunately, not able to improve on that as we start coming to a close here in our qualifying session. Your leaders currently Vasquez, SNJ, Zamperlini.
Yep, and you can see visually just now how Valero, you know he's not going to improve. He had a poor final sector. He's just puffing his cheeks, leaning back on his rig, knowing that, well, that's my luck running out for this one. But I would have plenty of luck to try for the races here, Kevin.
And of course, like we see there, yep, you can see the driver's cams. We love seeing their expressions. But that puts in your current qualifying results. We have, of course, in that top spot, Aaron Vasquez. He's really happy about that. Your BenQ session winner, followed closely in second place by Jackson SNJ. In third place, we got Fabio Zamperlini. Fourth place, Gael Valero. Fifth place, Pedro Dean, followed by sixth place, Nikodem Wierzbicki. Seventh place, Gaston Gulavi. Eighth place, David Zivok. In ninth place, we have Simon Demori. 10th place, Pyotr Kwasniewski. 11th place, Vinicius Dean. And rounding it out in 12th place, we have Timothy State. Tim, the only American, pretty much almost all season long, he has been in here with the VR, as well as very consistent leaderboards. We've been seeing this a lot. Aaron Vasquez topping the qualifying all season long.
Yeah, that is a sign of things to come, isn't it? Because he knows that he has the pace. But the thing is, 5/10 difference between Vasquez and up to Zambolini. That is really hot pace up in front. Looks like Resende might be his closest challenger here, but they're gonna have to do it all at the back of the grid with a full formation lap right in front of them there. So they gotta have to settle those jangly nerves before the start and just get on to business, trying to get up to the front.
As we come here, you can see the Porsche safety car leading off the pack. Seeing Tim State right there in that purple Porsche, leading in pole position. Again, this is a top 15 reverse grid from our qualifying. See people in the chat saying these cars look good. These cars look absolutely amazing. I could not agree more. Again, that too. A lot of these guys we have in here are on e-racing teams. Like we see Drago, we see Team Redline come in here from time to time. We have a couple of teammates. I see Aaron Vasquez, Viersbisky, have Apex Racing. So plenty of esports drivers in here, and I know unfortunately sometimes with scheduling we don't always have all of the drivers in here that we have registered, but nonetheless they are still atop the leaderboards, whether they are here every single race or if they cannot make one here or there. But that just goes to show with a lot of these guys, especially when we're looking, you guys can see when the timing is there. We've seen some of their iRating, and Aaron Vasquez, who again set the fastest in qualifying, he is over 11,000 iRating, which there's only a few drivers on the platform that are over 10,000. So that just shows how much dedication and time is put into these and just how talented these guys are to consistently be winning.
Yeah, and the other driver that I think above 10K that I know of is Maximilian Benecki, who's always a teammate to Max Verstappen in the GT3 endurance races. Those kind of guys, they've put in countless hours on this platform, doing all the official races and the special events to get that sweet dough to really continue on and pursue their passion here in sim racing. And some of them have translated that to other ventures as well, asunder. But yeah, this is really the showcase of the best, isn't it, on AMX 10? As you mentioned before, some of the teams that are involved here. We have Team Redline drivers, as you mentioned as well, from time to time. Max himself also races here as well, and to great success. So hopefully that when he is free sometime in the summer, when he's back in Europe, we get to see him in future AMX races. But the drivers we have here right now are no slouches either, with the likes of Valero, Zambolini, Vasquez, and Resende up in front. Those guys that are really ones to watch out for. And some of the drivers we can mention as well, the likes of Vinicius Dean, Tim State with the VR. Let's see how he can do that. And of course, one of our production guys behind the scenes is Polish, so he will be wishing that the Poles can bring it to pole position by the end of it. So plenty of sub storylines to go through, but we can't wait to get this going, don't we, Kevin?
Oh yes, absolutely. As we are almost through with our out lap, of course, these tires, these drivers just getting their tires a little bit warm. But we always see either an extremely safe first lap or an extremely chaotic. You never know what you're going to get. But on this track, being a little bit tighter is to make it very interesting for these cars. Of course, these cars able to pick up speed so quick coming out of these corners. And another thing too, that just driving this track, again, just to get a little bit of a feel for what these drivers are going through, you got to watch out for some of these curbs. You can see some of those curbs there, again, with the rework. They are pretty flat, but it can be easy to go a little bit too much to the inside and just disrupt the car. So the narrowness of the track will absolutely come into play with these driver strategies today.
Yeah, given the fact that also some of the flat nature of the circuit might be a bit deceiving because it is undulating as we go, as we're going to get ready for the green flag coming up to the Arie Luijendijk Buck, named after the famous IndyCar driver from the Netherlands. We're getting ready to get going here, Kevin.
As we go, the pit car, the safety car is off, the pace car, whatever you want to call it, as we go, green, green, green. Here we go, Tim State going ahead as Vinny Dean slotting in right behind him. So we have battles already going on. This will be a turn one into tight one into turn one. We go, everyone too wide going into turn one, door to door. but Tim State so far is being able to hold on as we see these drivers, of course, very early on just trying to be safe, but trying to be as quick as possible. As, again, some of these overhead shots, you guys can just see how there's barely room for these guys to go too wide throughout this course.
Yeah, it can be quite nip and tuck here, especially that you can run multiple lines, especially through the first couple of corners through Tarzanbach and through the reworked Hugenholzbach, named after the track designer, of course, John Hugenholz. But it looks as though by the time that you reach the middle sector, everyone's just trying to go single file. Knocking for positions they go, as around the outside goes Vasquez on Vizbiki, makes it through, and no, in fact, it's Kohavi, makes it through up to P8. That's 4 positions gained from the back of the grid here, as plenty more drivers up in front trying to just position. Zampolini and Zewak go through side by side. Vizbiki goes through side by side. It looks as though everyone's kept very disciplined here, and looks very clean so far.
Yeah, so far, but don't speak too soon as we've seen someone go off the track. There's a couple spin out right there. It looks like Kulavi and Valero, both of them going off track. Unfortunately, as soon as we said something, oh no. So those guys will have quite a bit of work cut out for them as they try to make it back to the pack. But right now, we're taking a look over the middle as Zamperlini just up a little place. Zenjay coming up as well. So like we said, the reverse grid, now that's the time these guys from the back of the pack that were the top qualifiers are slowly making their way through the pack, battling it out to try and get the first position. But here you can see, and through lap 2, we still have Tim State being able to hold off Simon Demori for that top spot. But Demori, we know, also a very fast driver this season. Will he be able to take this, or will Tim be able to keep that first place a little bit longer? As we can see right there, Sanjay going a little bit wide on the outside, trying to make some moves happen. So these drivers, now that they're in line, starting to get just a little bit more aggressive.
And you can call me the Harbinger now. Just as I said that we were going to have a clean first lap, something major happens. And the major casualty out of all that was actually Gal Valero right at the back of this entire queue almost, because he managed to get in front of Kohavi as well. But Kohavi really got shafted as we came through the chicane there. But we cannot dwell on that too much. We might just have replays of that. Up in front, Tim State and Simon Demori just 0.3 of a second apart. Porsche versus Lamborghini as they come out now to that final sector that we saw some drivers coming across towards the end of the first lap. It was a good exit there from Mori, but he had to tuck in behind the slipstream because he cannot get by. State with a better run coming out of there, holds on to P1 only just for the time being.
Yes, and as it currently stands, like you said, Tim State there in the Porsche, Simon Demori actually running the Audi today. So right now we have your German manufacturers leading the pack, Tim State and Simon Demori. Of course, this may be one of those tracks that Tim State has put in a little bit more practice. Again, like we've seen during qualifying, he was not the quickest, but as we can see here in the race, he has been doing a great job defending. But Simon Demori going on the outside right now, looking to take over that first place position. Will he be able to do it as they're side by side? Looks like Simon Demori getting a little bit wear, and he does. He secures that first place position away from Tim State.
What a move. That's a very typical Zandvoort move, as we can say so ourselves. Around the outside at Tarzanbach. You normally cannot get it around the outside unless you have a good run out of there. And State couldn't defend that because Mori had a very good exit. Just gets the lead out of there, and State wisely just backs out of it so that he prevents Mario Andretti, James Hunt accident that happened here in 77 where both of them went out afterwards. So he thought better of it and didn't become the next American to fall victim there.
Listen, like we said, Tim State falling down one place, but he is still up there in the podium position as we are currently in lap 3 of 12 here at Zandvoort. We see a little bit more action going down in the back of the pack as we see Pozniowski right now that we are on board with has so far dropped about 3 positions down into 6th place as Zamperlini has gone up 3 positions. So Zamperlini looking to overtake Pozniowski. We will see if he has it in there to do it as we go through the chicane right here. Beautiful Lamborghini right there of Zamperlini, but he is on that rear bumper. So again, clawing his way back to the top. He will have to try his best to go. So only less than a second separating most of these drivers. So we have a little bit of a gap now with Simon Demori between Tim State. So right now the battle is Aaron Vasquez coming up behind Tim State, looking to get that second place position.
Yep, as support for Vasquez willing him on, you might say that sometimes when you have support from your homeboys, you get about 1 horsepower, as Nigel Mansell once said, because he had almost 60,000 of them watching him winning British Grand Prix back in the 80s and 90s. But Vasquez is probably going to take that analogy to heart because That was a good run coming out of Hugenholz-Bach into the SS here. Let's see if he can actually try to line one up somewhere. But no, at this point of the circuit, you just have to make it single file. He might have to wait coming out to the chicane or try his luck coming through Tanzenbach again, because there's no way through here unless the state makes a big mistake.
And like we'd seen earlier, Aaron Vasquez being one of your top qualifiers, so we know he absolutely has the speed. So right now, there he goes to make a move on the inside. Looks like Tim State lifts just a little bit, lets him go through. He knows, all right, this guy, I don't want to, again, get too close. I know that he's driving a bit aggressive, drive fast, but Tim State slots right back in behind him, going into third place. So now that is your leading order. Simone Demori in first, Aaron Vasquez in second, and Tim State in third place, as we are almost here to round out lap number 4.
Yeah, we're close to the halfway point now, but Vasquez has the bit between his teeth as we are trying to pick up somebody there for a second. Yeah, there we go. Now we get them. That is Resende, now the second fastest guy in qualifying, but he has made his way well up through the field. So it shows that he had the pace here. But again, of reverse races that you need to actually make those moves in the first couple of laps, like what Demori and Vasquez have done so. And what Resende is doing here is following behind Zampolini. Oh no, in fact, Zampolini behind Bizbicki comes through, and State loses 2 positions in the first couple of corners. So unfortunately, some of the people commenting in bottom there, if they hold on to the top 5, maybe have to rescind that bet, because right now he is looking really, really vulnerable to the other guys behind.
So right there, like we said, absolutely some great moves going on, as Jackson Asenje, who's been great all season long, very consistent, right now in 4th position behind Wierzbicki, who is able to get into that podium position on 3rd. So it looks like we have the 2 teammates on the podium currently of Vasquez and Wierzbicki. They're in 2nd and 3rd, but we know that they are hoping to make it a 1-2 for Drago Racing Team. We can see down in the bottom right here between Valero and Kulavi, the incident that happened earlier. It looks like Kulavi just went a little bit too much on the inside. I couldn't tell if maybe Valero was going to break a little bit later, but it does look like from that view that Kulavi just turned in a little bit too hard right into the side of Valero. But speaking right now, we have Pedro Dean, who's just making an absolute great move right there. Pedro Dean, Wozniowski, and Vinny Dean right there in the middle of the pack.
Well, that might be a bit confusing to have the 2 Deans in there, but luckily their first names are slightly different, so we can actually tell them of who's in who. But look at that inside replay just now. Bizbicki was absolutely lucky not to get wiped by Kulhavi as he was actually spinning around there. As we can see, there's Bizbicki running in P3 behind Vasquez. He was lucky that his car entered just a fraction of a second earlier, otherwise he would have actually joined the guys at the back of the field. But he lived to fight another day, and the Drago Racing Team, you can see why they call it Drago, because you can see dragon skills on the side of that car. So living it up with The Witcher or Game of Thrones, whichever you like, of course. But yeah, nice to see that the teammates are 2nd and 3rd right now. But Resende, with the bit between his teeth, he was the 2nd fastest guy in qualifying, matching pole position. He really is meaning business here. He wants a podium to show for it.
And that too, I know, as being announcers, we're supposed to be a little bit unbiased, but I have to say that Drago livery is one of the best in the game. Whoever they have for their graphic designers, kudos to you with the dragon scales. I know that, of course, these guys, as you can see there from Wierzbicki, looking to get a little bit more time. But like I was saying, right there, that's a great angle from that Lamborghini, especially on the Lamborghini, seeing the scales of that Drago. Of course, a lot of these guys out here, each season, every year, you see them switch up their liveries just a little bit. I know sometimes when we get in the race, just having kind of the 2 color schemes of that. I know Team Redline, they have a very similar with the dark with a little bit of the red. But enough about the liveries of these vehicles. We're going back on. We can see Zamperlini looking to overtake State. So Zamperlini currently sitting in 6th place. Tim State still within that top 5 position, but will he hold it for long?
Well, let's see then, because someone have put a bet below there to see if State can hold on to P5, and I'm impressed that State actually has managed to hold on that despite fading a couple laps ago where his pace looked like it deserted him. But he's proven us wrong here. He's defending for all his might against Fabio Zampolini with Z-Watt behind. One of the 2 Deans behind as well, Kwasniowski, and the other Dean about 5 seconds further behind. So it's a battle between 4 cars right now here. 5 cars actually, because Kwasniewski actually runs out the back here. Vinny Dean has actually dropped behind Valero, so Valero on the crappy trail. But there we go, visually, you don't even need the gaps to tell how close they are. There, you can't even put a piece of paper for probably between them, because how close is it between 2 Lamborghinis, a Porsche, and a Ferrari behind for good measure here. But back up to the front, it's Vasquez and Mori. This is what his fans have been waiting for here. Vasquez on the back of the German, the Austrian, and Swiss, but we'll call it the DHCH and AT team.
So like we said there, of course, right now we have 2 great battles going on. The battle for first place between Simon Demori and Aaron Vasquez, as well as the battle for 5th place, as it looks like Jackson SNJ right now in 4th with a little bit of gap between 4th and 5th. So, of course, these guys up here leading the front of the pack. Simon Demori doing a great job so far of defending Aaron Vasquez. But again, Aaron Vasquez just having an absolutely blazing qualifying. Well, both of these drivers, in fact, doing really great in qualifying. But like we can see here on the sectors on screen, Vasquez through each sector is so far just showing he is just slightly faster at this point in the race, as we have the onboard of Simon Demori right there in the bottom left. So Simon Demori doing a great job so far, but we do have Bisky and SNJ right there lurking in the background as well. So these guys battling it out may slow down. So our current 2-place battle may turn into a 4-way very, very soon.
Yep, as the more that these guys fight, the more that the other guys are going to be reeling it in here. But you can tell clearly that Vasquez is very antsy. He wants to get out to the front. He's not going to try it here. Only a bike will actually be able to do so. And even then, you'll have to make it around the outside, which actually Vasquez does think about it, which because the inside, the door's open, Mori leaves it open, and there he goes into the lead, does Aaron Vasquez. That's what they came to see. But he has to be aware that Mori might just fight back here.
Absolutely, with an absolute great move, pulling the over-under on Simon Demori. But right here, as we go through the chicanes, Simon Demori is not done yet. He knows he has the pace right now to keep up, but he is in between the 2 Drago Racing teammates. So will Aaron Vasquez, having his teammates so close behind, be able to play into this here? We will wait and see. But again, like we've seen all season long, once Aaron Vasquez is able to get into that front position and get a little bit of clean air, that is when he does his best work. As we are now lap 9 of 12 here at Circuit Zandvoort. Aaron Vasquez in first, Simon Demori closely in second, and in third place, Bisky. But I don't expect that order to stay exactly the same, as Sanjay trying to make a move right here on the inside, looking up to Bisky. He does it, but gets knocked back out to the outside, and has to slow him down just a little bit. Bisky able to hold him off just for now.
Wow, that was quite nip and tuck coming up to the almost Indy-style banking there, or Daytona-style banking, because it's quite high. He was left out to dry, but luckily, great car control from Vicente to keep it under there. Just losing a couple of seconds rather than 20 if he were to spin out completely. He lives to fight another lap, but it does set him back a bit, as Vicky now free from the shackles of fighting with Resende, now ready to actually get up to the back of Demori, with Demori likewise wanting to get up to fight with Vasquez, but Vasquez pulling ever so slightly though. He's got the clear rarefied air up in front.
And that too, these drivers, as they know that there's not that many laps left in this heat number 1, are going to be turning it up to 11. Like I said, they've been pushing it, but now that they're a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more in line with the pack, they are going to see every single move that they can. As you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, of course, a battle for 6th position also going on. We had a battle for 5th, but it looks like some of those drivers were able to catch up just a little bit. So right now, Aaron Vasquez, Simon Demori, and Nico Wierzbicki, your first, second, and third, as we turn into lap number 10. A little bit of a gap, like we were saying earlier. Aaron Vasquez, once he gets up front, he's able to start slowly pulling away from the other drivers, and it looks like as long as he keeps this up, he may just be your heat number 1 winner.
Indeed, he doesn't make that many mistakes up in front, especially when he's got a bit between his teeth. Further behind, this is State and Kwasniewski. Let's see where he is gonna try and overtake, as he actually spots the very first Lewis Hamilton helmet all the way back to the 7, so that's a nice touch there. So we know who he supports IRL in Formula 1, as Kwasniewski then tries to look every which way to just pressure State into a mistake. This is between 2 similar cars, Porsche and Porsche, so the drivers in this particular instance will make a difference, as opposed to a car having a characteristic somewhere around the circuit that favors it compared to the others. but it looks as though no way through just yet. He gets actually tried that on the inside, but that only just stayed a bit. That also stalls both of their momentum, so unfortunately no way through just yet. But coming out to the chicane, that's a prime overtaking spot. He will fancy his chances there, though not the best of exits.
Yeah, some great moves right there by Kwasniewski, looking to overtake State of that too. You know, was that one trying to pass right there, or was he just going up to the inside letting you know, hey man, I'm right here, as he's right on his rear bumper, almost hitting Tim State, getting super close right there. That just shows some great car control from him, not to run into the back of State right there. So we have just a little bit more than a lap left here. So these guys, we will have to see again what is going to happen as they come into the home straight. So far, 2 laps left into this heat number 1.
Yeah, we're thoroughly enjoying it as he comes out to Tarzan on the inside. We saw just how Vasquez and Mori did it around the outside, but though this time, however, the inside line may not be the best way to go through, and State stays in P8 for now, and someone was betting on him staying that way, so that's he'll be hoping that he can stay right now, but the pole right behind really as fast as State makes a mistake on the way out to the series of S's that lead up to the second sector here through Hudson-Bach, Hugenholz-Bock. Luckily, though, kept it in check.
And we can see as those two keep battling it out, that in the back we do have Gael Valero, who is starting to catch up to them. Valero had an unfortunate incident early on in the race, and he's had to try to claw his way back ever since. Looks like he is now starting to make up that time as those two battle. No. Looks like we had a bit of an incident in the head that lets these guys pass them. Unfortunately, we had, looks like one of the Deans right there too. And man, we may have to get a replay later on to see exactly what happened between those two. That now lets Tim State get back up to 6th and Kwasniewski into 7th place.
Wow, State's just one position back to the original bet where he had to finish in P5. So somebody will be counting their lucky stars there that it happens, but he needs one more position to stay up there. Best bet that he will have to wish that the other guys in the top 5 may be coming a cropper. As we're on the final lap, Vasquez across the line, 2 seconds to the good in front of Demori, Rizbiki, and Resende. But we're not going to mind that battle too much right now because look at this. This is State, Kwasniewski, and Z-Walk behind. It's very close. It's a train of cars. All the way to Bedreddin. On the inside goes Kwasniewski. He dives one through Tarzan. Gets it wrong. And he nearly gets into the crowd. Gets a slight push. Dean, on the other hand, gets through. And Kwasniewski rubs his chin. He knows full well that he did not have to do that. He was so desperate to get up to T6. Lost it all in that one fell swoop.
And right there, like you said, he just pushing it just a little bit too hard right there, and unfortunately doesn't have too big of a crash. It looked like only one other driver got into him, but you can see here earlier, Givok and Pedro Dean, a little bit of contact, both of them going into that corner very hard, and we couldn't see quite from that angle if one of the drivers ran into the other or if there's the ever so persistent net code again. But unfortunate for both of them as that set them both back. As right now, we have Aaron Vasquez in first place with a little bit of a lead over Simon Demori in second, and in third place, Wierzbicki. But Wierzbicki is trying to hold off Jackson Asenge as Asenge is eager to get that podium position. So we will see as we come here to the end of our lap number 12, the final lap. We only have a little bit to go here, a few seconds. We'll have to see as Aaron Vasquez is looking to take it away.
Yeah, Vasquez round the Ari Luyendijk onto the start-finish straight. He has no one behind challenging. Across the line he goes. He takes the win. Seconds Mori, but across the line, Wierzbicki hangs on to it by the skin of his teeth. Just under 2/10 across the line with Zampolini in 5th. And the rest of the field there, think about Tim State. What a good defense that he had throughout the entire heat. Gets a well-deserved top 10 and just outside the top 5, but he'll be happy with that one. A really good, valiant drive to hang it on. Z-Walk in 7th. 8 Valero, he'd be very disappointed that he got involved in that earlier skirmish with this man, Gaston Tohavi, who round out the entire top 12. As everybody who started the race finished it, it was an absolute humdinger of a race. I can't wait to go again in the second heat, Kevin.
That to an absolute great race, of course, like we had some people there in chat cheering on your favorite drivers. But a couple unfortunate incidences early on, and again, a couple unfortunate incidences near the end. As we see your Ben Q session winner, Aaron Vasquez, in that top spot, followed by Simon Demori in second place. In third place, we have Wierzbicki, followed by SNJ in fourth, Fabio Zamperlini in fifth. Sixth place, Tim State just slightly outside of that 5th place that we had some people talking about earlier. But in 7th place, we have David Givok. 8th place, Gael Valero. 9th place, we have Pedro Dean, followed by 10th, Pyotr Kwasniowski. 11th place, Vinicius Dean, followed by 12th place, Gaston Kulavi, who had that unfortunate incident earlier in this race. And of course, with all that breathing room up front, fastest lap was indeed set by Aaron Vasquez. So a big congratulations to Aaron for just an absolute great race, coming from the back of the pack, able to win heat number 1. But now we're getting back into the top 15 reverse grid, which is everyone today in the reverse grid, going into heat number 2.
And once again, we will have a full formation lap here, so plenty of time for the drivers to get their tires and brakes up to temperature. And unlike the NASCARs that we had earlier, it's easy to do so in GT3 cars, where you can just trail the brake a bit and the tire temperatures will get up when the brakes also are allied to that. There's the grid then for Kulhavi. We're looking to make up for the disappointment of that first heat. He'll be in front. Alongside him, equally disappointed with Vinicius Dean, who was taken out in that final couple of laps to be up in pole position for the second race. Then Kwasniowski, Dean, his brother Pedro Dean, Valero, and likewise we're looking to have a better second heat as opposed to the first. Zivok, State, well, he's starting further behind compared to where he was in heat number 1, but he'll be there to pick up the pieces should the need arise when some of the drivers might come a cropper. Zampolini, Vicente, Desbicki, Demori, and Vasquez rounding out your top 12 and all the 12 drivers that start here today. But really then, all eyes will be on Vasquez if he could do it all over again in heat number 2, Kevin.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Like we said, again, he was able to fight through the pack during heat 1. I expect that if he's able to pull off another heat 1, that will just put him that much further in the lead. So again, he's been doing very great all day. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, anything can happen with some of these incidences that we've seen earlier by the likes of Kulavi, who unfortunately came in towards the back of the pack. But he will now have his chance to make that up. As we see a couple of the drivers flashing, we see you guys out there. And for those of you that are watching saying, hey, there's a couple drivers that you normally see that maybe aren't on the grid, we will remind you that during our race days, if you participated in AMX 1, you cannot participate in AMX 10. So today with the NASCAR doing the Watkins Glen, so a road course, we had a couple drivers in there that sometimes hop in AMX 10. I know for a fact Roman Pascucci, who we did see here last weekend, decided, hey, I'm going to give these NASCARs a shot. It's okay if I don't do GT3 today. I'm going to go see what's going on over in AMX 1. So some of these drivers back and forth between AMX 1 and AMX 10. We love seeing the competition, no matter what you're doing. I know as well as the Deans as well have kind of dipped their toes in some other forms of racing. So as we go, we are here on your outlap heat number 2, AMX Season 4 Racing.
Indeed, and a couple of things to note that Vasquez is on for not just a triple crown, but also a complete grand slam because he was fastest in qualifying. He had the fastest lap in the first heat and the win. So if he does it the same thing again, it's not only a triple crown, but a grand slam. So keep an eye out for that one. And a couple of people in the comments have some really interesting thoughts of their own, including the likes of Han Justin. I don't know if that's Hanan or some other Han that has the same name, but it's a bit of a portmanteau with Han from Fast and Furious and the creator, one of the directors of the Fast and Furious series, Justin Lin. So glad to see he's from Korea, showing his love from the very production team that actually hosts the AMX Global Racing series. So it's again a eclectic mix of countries, very cosmopolitan. We'll get into that after this, but get ready for the start of Heat 2, Kevin.
Absolutely, and like we said, of course, on the last one, Tim State was just outside of that top 5, but he was holding his own. So again, now that he is in the middle of the pack, we will see how he defends off some of those drivers behind him again as the pace car starts pulling off to the side. So here we go. Heat number 2, as we're seconds away from going green. As we go, take off. Kulavi still in the lead, followed by Vinicius and Kwasniowski. Kulavi getting a great start off of that, but like we said, he had that unfortunate incident in Heat 1, so now he'll be able to get himself back and prove that, hey guys, I'm here at the pole position, but I'm going to keep it. So we'll have to wait and see. As we have a little bit of spin out there in the back, that looks like that was Jackson Asenje, unfortunately, falling back.
Oh, Resende, that's so unfortunate. He missed out on podium by just inches. Now he's going to have to do it all over again, right at the back. And I think he might have been voiced Tim State there. So, his hunt for a win in AMX 10 continues here. It's just so unfortunate that second season, and this season at least, that I've been watching second season. Oh, that's a big one. Vesbiki gets knocked off into the barriers. Out of he goes. And at least the Resende can console himself knowing the fact he didn't get off big time. But as I was about to say, the second season I've seen him may have not been the best compared to the previous one. But a bigger accident for Vesbiki, that knocks him out of contention completely.
Yeah, that's quite unfortunate right there, especially because he was doing so well in the heat number 1 in that podium position, but now he is all the way back in the back of the pack. So like we said, just one move can turn your race upside down on its head. As we see Aaron Vasquez so far able to make up 4 places. He currently sits in 8th place as we're riding along Pedro Dean, who is fighting off Gael Valero, but just shy of that 3rd place of Vinny Dean. So right now your running order so far as we're nearing the end of lap 1, we have Kulavi in 1st, Wozniacki in 2nd, and Vinny Dean in 3rd place. So let's see if the Dean brothers, if they can get this podium for heat number 2.
And incidentally, they're running pink colors because they're part of the same team, Norg Racing. But one of the Norg guys under pressure from Valero as up the inside goes Vasquez on, no, in fact, that's Zampolini, in fact. Zampolini on the inside of Aaron Vasquez. That's a bit of a question mark. How did Vasquez get a run on behind him? But regardless of that, Zampolini gets in front, but he takes the high line. Hopefully that works. But this time around, it's blocked off, and he's lost the part of his bumper. Zampolini cuts him off. Luckily, quick repair fixes that, but he loses his position to Z-Walk. He'll be happy to take that position away. But that was very nip and tough for Zampolini.
So we see right there of the battles getting heated already as we're only in lap number 2 of our 12-lap heat. Man, that's some great battles going on. Quite literally battle wounds out here on the track today. As we see now, Kulavi and Kwasniewski starting to slowly pull away from that 3rd place. But I expect them to start battling it out just a little bit, may slow them down, or we'll see if they try to work together to further pull away from the rest of the pack, as we have both Deans in 3rd and 4th also battling it out for that podium position, as we have Pedro Dean right here coming to the inside, but it's door to door as we go through the chicane. Right here, that's a great passing spot, but oh no, going a little bit wide. It looks like we have Pedro Dean who falls back now. Gael Valero able to take that 4th place position, and Gvok also able to move up a spot. So that puts Pedro Dean all the way back down to 6th place.
Yeah, he tried to give too much room to his brother there, so a bit too much respect, I would say, because he can still go a bit closer. So he did want to say, not better to be safe than sorry. Unfortunately for Pedro, he is sorry to himself for that one, as Gael Valero goes on the inside of Vinicius Dean coming through. Tarzan Bok makes the mistake, as behind them, Pedro goes onto the inside of Z-Walk, takes away the position as well. So one Dean loses a position, the other gains a position.
And that too, as you can see right there on the live timing too, there's a bit of action going on in the back as we have a couple drivers out there pitted. It looks like Zampolini and Wierzbicki towards the back. They may be out of contention for this race as they sit back there, but there's still battles going on up here as Valero is in 3rd, Vinny Dean, Pedro Dean, and Gvok. So right now, all battling it out. We have a battle right in the middle of the pack, which of course is way too common, far too common with AMX 10. Every single race, it looks like we have quite a bit of that 5th place battle going on. So there's not too much action going up on in 1st place. You can see as right here, we have the 2 Dean brothers going side by side again. So we'll see if they learn from their last mistake, as last time there was a bit of an error made, which led the other drivers behind them to take advantage of it. But it does look like, as you can see, both of them on the cameras right there. Pedro Dean so far in 4th place, and Vino Dean, yeah, and they are twins, so that too. You're not seeing 2 different camera angles. They are, in fact, brothers.
Twin brothers, to be exact. So that's a nice surprise because I've never seen the other Dean on camera before. So it's a bit weird, double take, in fact, to see like, oh wait, is that a different angle? No, as you said, it is 2 different camera angles, and both are twin brothers. So one Dean goes in front of the other, but the other Dean has been given the short end of the stick, having to defend.
As we can see there, Aaron Vasquez slowly making his way up. He's already up 5 positions into that number 7 spot. But as we all know him, he's not satisfied with that. Aaron Vasquez looking to hopefully get the Triple Crown today and move all the way up to the top. But right now we see the battle going on between Vinny Dean and Gvok. Gvok right on the rear bumper of him, and this is going to be a great battle coming up as we see a line forming behind all of them. So we have a couple drivers in the back that we know are absolutely fast around this track. They proved that in qualifying. They proved that in heat number 1. So we'll see. Vinny Dean has his work cut out for him as we have Gvok slowly right behind him, but right behind him too, Aaron Vasquez looking to make a move, which he does, right, overtakes Gvok, and now is looking to come for the Dean brothers.
Yep, one of the Deans holding a Michael Schumacher helmet. No, in fact, it's a Mick Schumacher helmet when he went for a tribute to Michael's first helmet with the red stripe at the front. You can see the Ural Kali stripe there for sponsors, so you can tell that's Mick's helmet. But small detail aside, Vasquez is on a vengeance here. He was attacked by Zampolini earlier, but Zampolini afterwards really fell off the wayside. Now Vasquez will try to reel in the rest of that top 5 in front of him, starting with Vinicius Dean. That's a good exit coming out of penultimate corner onto the Ari Lion Die Bok, banking final corner onto the start-finish straight. He has the run, he has the line, and it looks as though he only just needs to make the move stick.
And there too, as we can see right here, going into that turn 1, it does look like Aaron Vasquez will be able to hold that inside line. So that puts him solidly into 5th position right now, ahead of Vinny Dean. So between Pedro Dean and Vinny Dean right now, 5th place. Our current running order as we are into lap 5 still sits in 1st place Kulavi, 2nd place Kwasniowski, and in 3rd place Gael Valero, with Pedro Dean about a 2nd place, about a 2nd behind 3rd place. But like we've seen right there, Vinny Dean, as Simon De Mori is caught back up to the pack and looking to make an overtake right here on the outside. Will he have enough speed? We have Vinny Dean right there, Simon De Mori, and looks like Gvok. So all 3 of those guys battling it out.
Yep, but it looks as though Vinicius Dean has run out of momentum here. He thought he catch it down on the inside of Zwok, but Zwok held the apex, lost momentum there does Dean, and gets gobbled up there by Simon De Mori. So 2 positions lost in the same sector. They'll have to regather some momentum here coming into the halfway point of this heat. So far at least, it's been chopping and changing, but it's no less dramatic compared to the first heat. Can't wait to see what more drama is entailing here as we come now to the second half of the race.
And you just gotta love from that rear bumper view, just the sounds of that beautiful Lamborghini aboard Gvok. Like we said, him and Simon De Mori right here battling it out. We've seen Simon making up a few places already, 4 places from the beginning of the race to 7th place. And it looks like also, looking at the timing, it looks like Aaron Vasquez may have just set the fastest lap so far of the heat. So he's on his way again, like you mentioned, to the Grand Slam. But right now, as we're still saying door to door between Gvok and, as the camera pans back away, we have a spin just as the camera pans away. We have a bit of a spin from Kwasniowski.
Oh man, what happened there? It looks as though that either Pedro Dean or Valero got involved in that one. No doubt we'll get a replay after this. But the pole has actually slipped away from the promised land of being up in the top 3. Now he has to fight it up just to be in the top 5. As up in front, that's Harvey. There's Dean and Valero. So Valero then a man on a mission. And no doubt he will try to attack as hard as he could. But not too hard compared to what happened in the first heat, where he and incidentally Harvey came a crop in the very first lap. Can't wait to see how those 2 will go on again. No doubt no love lost between the both of them. As here's a replay what happened to Zwok. Oh, it's Valero! Valero hit the back of Zwok there.
Yeah, it looks like Gvok just breaking a little bit harder than Valero, and that led to Valero just tapping him. Looks like they were following really close, and that's just what happens when you have battles going on this close between these drivers that are just that fast. It's just all it takes is a split second for that to end up into the wall. But right now, as we see, Pedro Dean holding on to that 2nd place position as Gael Valero looking to overtake, but he is still currently in podium position as we see Aaron Vasquez lurking in the background. Like I said, Aaron Vasquez, top qualifying and heat number 1 winner. So he has about 4 laps left to try and get his way all the way up, but there is about a 4-second gap between 1st and 2nd position. So Kulavi is sitting very firm in that 1st place position currently.
Yeah, 4 seconds to the good, so he can afford to just take the intensity off by a couple of notches, but not too much, because he knows full well that there's potential banana peels on the circuit here. And what I mean by banana peels, I mean it's the curves or the grass on the outside. If he were to get that wrong ever so slightly by just a couple of inches, it will send all that good work that he has done so far into the drain, and he'll have to lick his wounds afterwards. So he will try his hard not to let that happen, but at the same time, not to let off the gas too much, because look at this. The intensity between the likes of Dean, Valero, and Vasquez are still quite high.
And that too, as we can see right now, a battle for third place also going on as Aaron Vasquez sitting just outside the podium contention currently, looking to overtake Gallo Valero. As we can see the two on camera right now. So we know Aaron Vasquez has the speed, but also, like we said, don't count out Gallo Valero. These two have been the top of the leaderboards all season long. So what a great battle we could have. We couldn't ask for a better battle right now going on in this heat between some of the two of the fastest drivers in the series, as these two battling it out. Like we said, Gallo Valero, looking in his rearview mirror just a little bit, is leaving a little bit of room for Pedro Dean. So now about half a second between Dean and Valero, and Aaron Vasquez right on the rear bumper of Valero as we go into lap number 8. The Drago Ferrari racing right now, looking to get back into podium contention.
Yep, as his early setbacks where he didn't have the much momentum have been well cast aside here. Now as the comments come through, it's going to be very spicy indeed between two really fast guys who are up in the championship standings. Vasquez and Valero first and second in the championship respectively, with Vasquez leading. Vasquez tries one on the inside. He thinks about it, thinks of a dink, but Valero is well equal to it. But where's he going to be right now? Placing his car, coming into the couple of sectors here. Oh, this is going to be very tight. Oh, that's got a touch. Yes, he does. And a bit of a nudge from Valero to push Vasquez ever so slightly. But luckily, Vasquez kept it together. Now he will try to send one. Coming through. Turn number 9. Oh, that's going to be very close. Side by side they go.
And right there you can see a little bit of contact earlier. Glad that could have been a little ugly going into that. That hopefully we're glad no one ended up getting into the barrier from that one. But again, the battle still continues. Aaron Vasquez right on the bumper, and just looks like a little bit of a tap. We'll have to see how close they got, but that just shows you how quick these guys are. And now, especially after that, Aaron Vasquez knows he was able to get the inside of one of those previous corners, that he can get the line as long as Gallo Valero does not make any mistakes. Gallo Valero has to be driving absolutely perfect for the rest of this race if he wants to keep defending Aaron Vasquez. You can see them going out there to the inside. We'll see on turn 1 as Aaron Vasquez looks to the outside just a little bit. Will he get the over-under? We'll have to wait and see, as Gallo Valero still holding onto that. Great battle for the entire last lap. Bumper to bumper racing right here for that third place battle.
Valero really is playing with a grey area there, because he was weaving left and right on the start-finish straight. Luckily though, by the time the corner came, he held onto his line, put the one side, let Vasquez guess where he wanted to go, and kept it together. So both of them still fighting it hard, but for the most part very cleanly. As I was listening to the throttle there, Valero was actually just doing a little bit of tap dancing with the throttle, I would say, but not to the point that he causes what we saw in the Australian Grand Prix, Fernando Alonso causing George Russell to crash by breaking mid-corner. As speaking of mid-corners, here we go up to turn 10. Once again, Valero leaves the door open. He's brave enough to do so to prevent Vasquez from getting the inside room and pulling a bit of his momentum by just a bit.
And that too, both of these drivers know that each other, they are some of the two top drivers in the entire series and some of the fastest ones. So of course, they are just having to be absolutely precise with their throttle control, with their braking. That way they do not run into each other. And for Gallo Valero to make sure that he doesn't leave that door too wide, leaving it open for Aaron Vasquez to go in. But again, right here, bumper to bumper, as we can see, a little bit less of a gap now, about 1.3 between Valero and Dean. So as long as the top two, as we can see, a little bit more swerving right there. It looks like, yep, he pushes him to the outside to hold that inside line. Gallo Valero, very last second. So again, like you said, different series have a little bit slightly different rules on your braking points, but he was able to defend right there.
Oh, you can see Vasquez shaking in the head there. He knew full well that probably that was a move one time too many on the straight. So not happy one bit. He has the momentum here, but unfortunately no way through, because equally Valero had the speed to just defend. And now swerving left and right. Vasquez has every right to do so, because he's the chasing driver. The guy in front, Valero, has to be predictable and only move to one side. He actually flashes his lights, and well, we don't have rain right now because the temperature system is not active here. Otherwise we'll really be seeing in the spray. But around the outside goes Vasquez through turn number 9. No way through just yet. We saw previously how these two got very close coming through turn number 8. We saw Vasquez got crowded out a bit. Luckily, kept it together, and the battle is still well and truly on. But I think Vasquez might just grow a little bit agitated that Valero's defending just maybe a bit questionable in his eyes.
And that too, so like we said right here, so that really leaves the room for Aaron Vasquez, going to have to possibly change up the strategy a little bit. He knows that Gaio Valero is defending really hard with the swerving going into turn one, so he might be having to look for a little bit more opportunities throughout the rest of the track to say, all right, you've seen him peak a couple of times, then get nearly door to door in the last couple of laps. So as here we go back onto the home straight, let's see as the concentration of both drivers, Aaron Vasquez can say, okay, maybe I'll wait till the last minute to see what I'm going to do, as he forces Gaio Valero to hold that inside line. He's getting on the outside, door to door right now again, but Gaio Valero, like you said, just that inside line, holding it a little bit better. We'll see if these next couple turns he will be able to capitalize on that and overtake him.
Yeah, you can see again, Vasquez is banking on the outside line to work, but that's very, very close to becoming a skateboard move where he can actually axle grind it, but no way through just yet. That's not the way that he wanted to do it, because he was hoping that Valero got a very poor run while on the inside line. Ideally, normally the most preferred line, but yet room on the outside, not enough momentum to get by, so he has to try again. And it does prove the point that we did say earlier, how difficult is it to overtake at Zandvoort. And case in point, when you have two really fast guys together, the difficulty level just goes beyond 100.
As we can see here into lap 11 of 12, so we're nearing the end. So right now, if Vasquez wants to make the move, he knows that it's coming up really, really quick. So we will have to just wait and see. They're about to turn up the intensity a little bit. We always know once the drivers see that checkered flag, there is nothing held back. It is all laid out on the track. But so far, Gaio Valero defending off Aaron Vasquez, and you can see right behind him, a couple seconds back, Simon Demori as well. But right now, it's been nearly the whole second half of this race, the battle between these two guys, Aaron Vasquez, Gaio Valero, your two top in the class currently. These guys battling it out all season long, of course. As with a white flag will wave, we have Kulavi in first place, Pedro Dean in second, and the battle for third continues between Gaio Valero and Aaron Vasquez.
And Valero apparently had a bit of a chuckle there in between that. He was really cutting it close to what was actually considered fair game in his defense earlier, but he's been mopping up the last couple laps, so he moved that only once without having to jeopardize both himself and Vasquez. As we're on the final lap right now, Pedro D might be looking back and just settling in a bit, because knows full well that he's not involved in that particular scrap. He can just eat it up a bit, but not too much, because there's only half a second between himself and the battling Valero and Vasquez. Kulhavi, 3.6 seconds ahead. He's been untouched since the very beginning. He'll probably not be focusing we're not going to focus too much on him, because it's coming towards the end of the heat now. It's 3 tenths now between second, third, and fourth. As Vasquez goes on the inside, he tries one on Valero once again, but Valero baits him once again to come through, and no way through just yet. Cuts across the nose of the Ferrari, as now they're within earshot of Dean.
And that too, like we said, we'll have to see right there what caused Pedro Dean to just slow down that much. But now, what was just a two-way battle turns into a three-way battle as we are nearing the final lap. So right now, Pedro Dean now has to work just a little bit harder. He's starting to sweat as he's seen Gaio Valero and Aaron Vasquez right behind him. He knows these two are fast as we see our race winner, Kulavi, crossing the finish line. But we're onto the final stretch. It's a drag race to the end. Does Aaron Vasquez have enough left in the tank? It looks like it's going to be Kulavi, Dean, Valero. So unfortunately, a great run by Aaron Vasquez. A couple questionable turns there into that turn one, a couple questionable braking zones. But as it stands, Gaio Valero able to hold off on that podium position.
Wow, Valero had to fight tooth and nail for that one and prevented Vasquez from having a clean sweep of this race. But credit to both of them, it was clean about at least 97.5% of the time, because there were a few collisions in there in between. But thankfully, they all kept it together all the way to the end. Kulhavi would win, Dean second, Valero third, Vasquez fourth, Mori fifth, and across the line goes State. He is the last of the classified finishes because Vizbiki has fallen a lap behind. But wow, attack a bow. That was some racing here today, Kevin.
Absolutely. Like we said, we had a great heat number one, but there, I think all of the talk is going to be heat number two between Aaron Vasquez and Gaio Valero. But nonetheless, we had Gaston Kulavi as your BenQ session winner, who had an unfortunate incident in heat number 1. Heat number 2, he was able to come back and say, you know what, I'm just as fast as everyone else, if not faster, and he's shown that in heat number 2 as he got first place. Second place, Pedro Dean. Third place, Gael Valero. Fourth place, Aaron Vasquez. Fifth, Simone Demori. Sixth place, David Givok. Seventh place, Jackson SNJ. Eighth place, Pyotr Kwasniowski. Ninth place, Vinicius Dean. 10th, Fabio Zamperlini. 11th, Tim State. And rounding it out in 12th place, we have Nikodem Bierzbicki. But of course, again, setting the fastest lap in both heats, we have Aaron Vasquez. Man, what some great battles going on right now. So AMX 10, this is what we live for. This is what we love seeing every single week. This is why we are here. This is why the drivers come here. And this is why the viewers are here today, getting a great show between Gael Valero and Aaron Vasquez in that heat number 2. Absolutely insane. Again, great races all day. Amir, what was your highlight of that heat number 2?
Oh, definitely the one between Vasquez and Valero was top of the pile. But there was so many great moments here today that we saw from both of the classes. But yeah, it will be great to hear a perspective from any one of those drivers, especially Valero and Vasquez, to hear their side of the story, what happened there just now.
Yeah, so we will check in now as we go into the interview. Some great battles. We'll have to see what the drivers have to say here in a few seconds. Gael Valero, an absolutely great battle going on and getting that third place position in heat number 2. Walk us through what was going through your mind the entire second half of heat number 2.
I don't know. Yeah, just try to stay ahead, that's it. I'm not much to it.
So we've seen a couple of places there. I know there was some people asking about Aaron getting very close. There's a little bit of door-to-door right there, and a couple of things which we will have to see. Both of you coming into here, of course, you are our current season leader, but how does it feel to know that you had probably the best battle of today?
Well, we got side by side, so I guess that's one battle. The battle is already done anyway from quite some time now, since I can't win races, it seems. I just seem to always have something happening, and well, he's consistently ahead, so I guess I just gave him a run for his money today, and he'll win some other day.
Awesome. When we seen that also, we had the Deans early on that you guys having to battle it out with them as well. So not just the battle between you two all season long, you and Aaron Vasquez, but how was that making your way through the whole pack?
I only had two position gained, realistically. One was run around, let's say like that. So yeah, every time it's a different challenge. In race 1 I had a contact because I was being maybe too aggressive, or maybe he was, I think, moving in between. But yeah, every car basically you try to pass is a different challenge. Always hard, always hard.
Awesome. Well, you always put on an amazing show every time that you race. I know you are one of the fan favorites, and congratulations in still being the overall points leader. Is there anyone that you'd like to thank today?
Let's see. The list is quite long. Let's give it out for the overall championship, right?
Yes. Awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing you in the next race. Congratulations again. I know it. Everyone always wants to get that first place, but again, like I said, overall championship points, you are in the lead. We look forward to seeing you back here next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. See you next time.
Awesome. So now we are in here with Pedro Dean. Pedro, pretty good race. How does it feel coming in here racing with all these drivers today? What was your mindset going into this race?
Hello, I'm really happy with this race overall. Normally my pace in GT cars is not as good as prototype or any other car, so I qualified to P5, really close to P3, so I was pretty happy with my lap. My qualifyings aren't my strong point this season, so I was really happy with the P5. Then in the first race I made a mistake and this spun the final lap, final penultimate lap. So yeah, then now my focus on the future race and everything worked out. I managed to overtake Piotr and my brother, and then just keep it in P2, while Gael and Aaron were having a super battle behind me. So I'm pretty happy with this race.
Yes, and also again, congratulations. Like you mentioned, you were able to get the best of some of the top 2 drivers in the series here in that heat number 2. Walk us through, how much does it help to be able to have your brother racing with you?
This race, I think it doesn't help because he couldn't practice. If we race together, normally practice together, so you can compare times and everything. But this race, he couldn't practice, so I think he didn't help me at all, because when I tried to overtake him, I crashed, and then Gael overtook me because I did a mistake trying to overtake him, because it's very weird, because we don't want to take each other out, so we are really more careful with each other, so it's kind of weird.
Awesome. Well, like we said, we consistently seen everyone get in here getting better. Of course, we love having any time that you and Vinny can both be in these races. Can we expect you to be joining us tomorrow again?
I don't think so, no. I think I will be with my families. I think I can't, I have the season pass. I will try to join tomorrow, but I don't think I will.
Okay, well, we love seeing you, of course. We still have a few weeks left with the season, so congratulations today, and we look forward to what you have in store for the rest of the season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim, what a race that was. You did very excellent in heat number 1. You were one of the best drivers of defending that heat number 1. Tell us what was going through your mind.
It was hard work. My car was fast through the faster corners, but through the slower corners, they were catching me, especially the chicane. I gotta figure that out. I think you gotta catch the dirt on the inside on the way out, try and pull it around like a rally car. But yeah, no, it was hard work. And that track's fun though, especially in VR because of the banking. So yeah, it's fun going around those corners.
So I gotta ask, of course, being one of the few VR drivers, like you just mentioned now, on this course with the banking, how does this narrow course compare to some of the wider tracks that we've ran in VR? What does it feel like?
The narrow courses, well, they feel faster because of the narrowness too. You can feel the speed more in VR, I think. And so just the realism, it's more immersive. It's a little more scary. So, but I'm not sure it's the fastest thing to do. I think the monitors are faster. Probably the refresh rate is faster, reaction times are faster, but definitely more immersive in VR.
Well, we all know from everyone out here too that you are one of the fan favorites. You are here pretty much every single race. So we love seeing you here, the fans at home. We have people in chat too of even today, I think there might have been a few people placing some bets. So we love seeing you, Tim. We love seeing some more people, being experimental with the VR. And also just, it's really encouraging to see everyone out here. We have, we have some older racers, we have some younger racers, we have everyone from all walks of life. And also, I may be a little bit biased, you being the only other American that I consistently see out there. I'm a little bit biased, but like I said, great racing today, Tim. And
Thank
we look
you.
forward to really seeing the rest of the season. Like we said, we have about 3 weeks left, so we hope to see you all the rest of the races throughout the next few weeks. So thank you.
I'm sure you will.
Tim.
All right, thanks a lot. Cheers.
Awesome. It was an amazing day here. First with the AMX NASCAR and second with our GT3 cars. So it was nice to be able to have a few people in on the interviews, really get to see, the emotions running through today's races. There was a couple of upsets, a couple of people that were being cheered on, and of course, a couple of consistent drivers always atop the leaderboards, continuing to do that. But today's race, there was plenty of heartbreak, plenty of excitement.
Indeed, and the Team State interview kind of encapsulates the whole thing, isn't it? We always give, a lot of attention to the guys at the front when they battle. Of course, our camera crews do an excellent job behind the scenes to view everybody on the grid. But when you have moments like when Team State, who just, might be a bit more of the Sunday driver on the lot, but no doubt he is still competitive, still manages to put on a good show defending to get up into the top 10, maybe the top 5 in the future. Who knows? Fingers crossed for him. But he still has there for a few shots and giggles. But it was really nice to see that from the top of the field to the guys who are somewhere near there, just need to get there, have their day in the sun.
Yeah, of course, like we said, but here we go. We are about to get into your final results for today's AMX 10 race. But I guess before that, well, we're still waiting, just a couple last minute things. Like I said, there was a couple incidents, so I'm sure some of the officials are still having to review a couple little things with the results. But like we said, Aaron Vasquez, he was doing amazing today, leading the class. Battle between him and Guile Valera, all Heat 2. I think that was probably everyone's top moment of the day. It is great when you have two of the fastest drivers, no matter what race it is, being able to just battle it out consistently. But now it does sound like we do have our final results for today's AMX 10 race. So take it away, Amir.
Vasquez. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I thought we were going to go there. But yeah, Vasquez up in front. No surprises there. He had two very strong sessions with qualifying and the first heat. He didn't have the best of us because Valero was in his way. But regardless, he'd be happy with this day's work. $84 and points in the bag, and that will definitely send him up in the AMX 10 RWD standings, so he is well and truly favoring that one. Resende with an understated but still very delightful second place for him because he didn't have the best of second heats. Third place, Gaston Kohavi, his recovery drive to get a Heat 2 win puts him P3 overall. Then Valero, Demori, Dean, Zampolini, Zivok, Vizbiki, and Tim State in the top 10. Wow, that's a turn up for the books for him, so he'll be happy to see that he get an overall top 10. But regardless then, Vasquez, with the bit between his teeth, no doubt one of the champions-elect in the RWD category.
Again, so that just puts Aaron Vasquez just that much more in the current class lead. But again, overall lead, Guile Valero, as well as some of the other classes, I can't just get enough of those two. Those two battling it out. That will be one to remember for all season long. Again, that's going to be in the back of people's minds as we go into the next few weeks. But again, remember everybody, tomorrow we will be back here, same time, starting at 5:50 p.m. GMT, followed by 7:20 with the AMX 10 races. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Amir. It is always a great time. I'm glad to be here. And also, for those that will not make it tomorrow, a happy Easter for those. I know on certain parts of the world, it is already the holiday. But make sure to follow us. We have all the socials on the screen right now. We post highlights. We post information. Join the Discord. Get in here. Hang out with the community, as well as going over to amxrace.com if you want to sign up and get in these races with these drivers. So, Amir, any final thoughts before we head out, before tomorrow's races?
I think the summary of the Valero and Vasquez battle is probably the one that is the top of the entire cake for this one. And I think the highlights when we release them on Instagram and TikTok for the short form content, that will be one up there to watch. But yeah, really good pair of class races here today.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. But signing off for today, remember, join us here tomorrow live streaming again. We love all of your beautiful faces. I am Kevin with Amir, signing off Season 4 AMX Global Racing.